And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We appreciate your patience here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're going to jump right into it momentarily here inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Heritage Hill, 3149 Sweet Road out in Pompey in the country. You'll find them there at the Heritage Hill Brew House, and you'll also find them at their newest location, which is right by the Syracuse Hancock International Airport and centrally located to so many different things. And that is right there by Liverpool, Beeville, Clay, Cicero, Mattydale, and not too far away from downtown Syracuse. You will find their newest location, Heritage Hill North on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, right there at Sweetheart Corner. So, once again, Wake Up Call inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Happy to be here with you, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', a jam-packed show today. Starting off the show with American Athletic Conference Commissioner Tim Pernetti. My most recent extensive conversation with him on the heels of the AAC kickoff that I was at down in Arlington, Texas. We had time to sit together to take a look at this college football season, as well as collegiate athletics in general. So we're going to go there first. Then we'll get into Eric Morris a little bit later here in the show, University of North Texas Mean Green head football coach, in our preview with the American Athletic Conference. In that continuation, previewing the North Texas Mean Green football program. At 10 a.m. Eastern Time, I'll be joined live by one of the coaches here that has spent so much time in our community of upstate New York. And Ed is going to be joining us here for Binghamton University Bearcats on the heels of his retirement. Very excited for that Bearcat Breakroom and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Bearcats. And we'll round out the show on a Tuesday, as we always do, with the ingredients to success. So it's time to jump right into this conversation with Tim Pernetti after this. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com. To Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, on site, on location in our Travel Heritage Hill Studios. We are here at the AAC kickoff in Arlington, Texas, not too far from the headquarters of the American Athletic Conference, and that being in Irving, Texas. And I am here with the new commissioner, Tim Pernetti, who's no stranger to the broadcast, and happy to be sitting with you here in the same room. How are you?
Good to do it in person,
yeah.
Right? It's better than the virtual thing, for sure.
Absolutely. And so you had the opportunity to address in a lot of ways here at the AAC kickoff. I know that there was our virtual press conference, and there was something, with the American when you were announced, but this being at the kickoff for football was really a huge introduction, the grand one, so to speak. How do you feel that went this morning, and kind of what you wanted to get across and the message that you wanted to send?
I thought it went really well, and what people have to remember about Media Day is so much of the work is done in advance of getting to the podium. And it's been 50 days of learning for me, listening and naturally staying up to speed on the bigger industry issues, but really just getting under the hood with our stakeholders, because the first 50 days for me have been about creating stakeholder alignment. Like, are we aligned as a conference? As we talk about new business opportunities, like, how do we feel about these things? I understand the impacts, but maybe I don't understand the impact for a coach. Yeah. So when we got up there today, I think it was the culmination of a lot of really good discussions. And we had a great coaches meeting until 11 o'clock last night after dinner and talked about some real things facing us. But what I love is that's a coaches group that's dynamic. Like, they're going to get out there and try to beat each other up this year because they're all chasing the same thing, but they're in it together and trying to make this a powerful conference.
And that dinner that you had and that powwow in the first night of the AAC kickoff, just why that was so important for you to do that with the coaches and what you did get out of it.
I think any commissioner's job is, you have a variety of things that you're out there to do, but you're a voice on behalf of coaches, student athletes, all your sports. And so to me, I'm never going to step out there and talk about anything that I haven't vetted or at least understood the point of view of our stakeholders. That's why alignment is so important. And listen, you have 14 coaches. Like, not everybody's going to agree on everything, but when you get in the room and talk about it and have some debate, you ultimately can all compromise and land in the right place.
And for you, was there anything or two that came out of that meeting that you felt really good about, saying, okay, like you said, you got 14 different coaches, so not everybody's always going to agree, but was there a piece or two that you felt like there was alignment pretty much throughout?
Yeah, there's alignment on a variety of things. First and foremost is everybody supports the idea of new business enterprises that can help to generate resources and revenue for the institutions. I think everybody also supports that, all these comments get taken out of context, but supports the idea of all right, what's going to happen with revenue sharing? Who's going to opt in? It's too early to call any of that because we don't even have a lot of the detail of how the settlement will come down. But we do expect and are going to require everybody in this conference to invest at a minimum level. Like, we have to all give ourselves a chance at a minimum level to say, hey, we're all where we are. For some institutions that have wherewithal beyond that, then they have the ability to do that. But if we're not all investing at a certain level, then we're creating our own inequity, and I think we want to avoid that.
And I asked you, when I had the opportunity with you standing up on stage in your address to not just the people in the room, but the people around the world for the American Athletic Conference, I asked you about that seat at the table. I spoke with Mike Resco about it when he was the commissioner for so many years prior to, of feeling like when you're sitting, not only to have a seat, because that was a big thing that Mike and I spoke about, was just getting in the room, but being at the table is one thing. The bigger thing is, once you're at the table, are they listening to you? Mm-hmm. Is this a room that is looking at their cell phones when the American is talking? Is this a room where someone's walking out and going to the bathroom or having a side conversation? Or do you feel like when the American is sitting at the table that there is an actual focused listening to what you have to say?
I do. At least that's been my experience. Like, I haven't been in the room nearly as much as Mike was in the room. We were in the room together in April, and then I've been in the room a couple times since then. Despite what everybody thinks, everybody in that room is trying to listen and develop solutions. Now, do some of the solutions sound better to some than others? I'm sure that they do. Yeah. But there is not a lack of interest in what anyone has to say. In fact, people are encouraging each other to speak up so we can get a wider view of what's going on in the industry. So, it's been great. I also think the benefit, Mike had it and I have it, is all of these commissioners I have pre-existing relationships with from years in media and in college sports. So when you step into something and you're already acclimated, you can hit the ground running and actually try to talk about what's really facing us and embrace the change. Like, this industry resisted the change for a long time, and that's where the failure to modernize came in. But we still have an opportunity, if we get through this settlement, to try to set forth a model that works.
There's 9 FBS conferences, 9 in Division 1A football in college, with the PAC not being there anymore. Power group, I've never been a fan of either. As Mike always talked about, it was a media term that was created that divided the 10 conferences at the time, 5 here, 5 there. What do we need to do stepping forward when you talk about embracing change, looking at the enterprise as a whole? How do we need to address the FBS instead of having this great divide between what we consider power and consider group?
I do think the media, to some extent, fueled that debate. But I said it earlier today, there are certain monikers that will never come out of my mouth because it's just not true. They're essentially been manufactured. But the reality is there's 9 FBS conferences competing at the highest level of college football. Could you clearly point out or have a debate about who's competing at what level within that ecosystem? I think you can. But college football, remember, as an enterprise, it's become hugely valuable because conferences have their own agendas, their own plans, their own advancement strategies. But commissioners, since the beginning of time, have been willing to move the industry forward together as an enterprise. And that's created accretive value for everyone. The prospect of it moving away from each other and in different directions, it's unhealthy.
Yeah. We talked about expansion the last time you and I spoke, and you get asked about that. When the Big 12 had not taken from the American, there was this world where the Big 12, when they lost Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC, I had actually a couple of years ago written an article about how the American could have been a huge part of the breaking away of the Big 12, and the Pac-12 would have survived it, the Big 12 wouldn't have. And then after that, when we look at what happened to the Pac, when Cal and Stanford were still trying to figure things out, I spoke with Mike about it, Oregon State, Washington State. This is the American Athletic Conference. It covers from sea to shining sea, because that is the name. So you're in so many markets already. How do you address who makes sense? Is it media market? Is it trying to have geographic rivalries? Is it saying we're not in this part of the country, let's get in this part? Is it looking at the history of a program? How are we addressing, and with the 22% and the settlement, are we looking at schools that can afford certain things? How are you addressing expansion as far as the criteria?
Well, I think, as you can imagine, there's not a lot I can comment on there, but what I would say is all of it. Like, it starts with establishing your own criteria, but all of those things are important. You put all those things in a blender, right? I think geography matters. You know, it's starting to get away from everyone how insane some of these moves are given geography. Like, student athlete experience maybe needs to get put back in focus. Like, is playing in a conference when you're on, you know, the East Coast that involves members on the West Coast, like, is that, you know, a healthy solution? But I do think that's kind of where we've arrived as an industry. But geography and student athlete experience are going to mean a lot in the conversation. But, you know, certainly the goal of expansion since the beginning of time is look at the timing, look when it happens. It's tied to the end of media contracts. It's all about creating new value. So value has a lot to do with it. But to me, alignment's got to win the day. Like, you can find institutions that can generate value, but if they're not aligned with who you are as a conference, the likelihood is it's not going to work.
And you have had the opportunity to do some things differently. One of the things you did at the AAC kickoff for the first time ever, well, it got rebranded as the AAC kickoff. So first, your thoughts on the rebranding of the name, and then secondly, your thoughts on why fans were given an open door policy this time.
Yeah, so I think, you know, the first thing we've been spending our time on is brand. And to understand your brand, you actually have to talk to your constituents about your brand. And we're in the midst of a brand study with everyone on the campuses, people in the conference office, fans, like, trying to understand what it means to people. Because then and only then can you properly position it for the future. To me, media days should be fun. Like, it's fun for student athletes. I think it's fun for some coaches, right? It's also something that they have to do. But to me, it was easy. I said, if we're trying to do something different, like, let's get EA here and let's partner with them and let's have the game. And I even raised my hand. I said, I'll play against one of the student athletes, but let's create an environment where fans can hang out. They can see the players. They can listen to their coaches. Let's just provide access. Like, what's the secret? It's a media day. They may be sitting at home watching it. Why not give them the chance to be in the room and have that experience? So this is the way we're going to operate. You know, the thing about sports that everybody loves is they want access to it. So we're going to provide access however we can.
Like you said, 50 days in.
Yeah.
Now that you do a lot of these conversations when you're at the headquarters, right? And these teams are going through their practices, they're going through their summer workouts. Coaches just had a couple weeks of vacation time. This is where you get to be in the room and actually have a pulse on the room. How do you look at, now that we're toward the end of the AAC kickoff, what is the pulse of the room? What did you feel of the heartbeat with these faces in front of you, these fans in front of you, student athletes, as well as coaches and representatives from each of your member institutions?
Optimism. It really feels, that's the way it feels. There's real optimism about the future of the conference. I mean, it's impossible to ignore what's going on around you. I think everybody's monitoring all the other discussions, like what's going to happen in other places. Someone asked me today, said, well, you know, what about the ACC? I said, I'm not the commissioner of the ACC. My friend Jim Phillips is the commissioner of the ACC. My job is this conference. But certainly we're all paying attention to what's going on around us. But there's real optimism around it. And I think that goes from the fans all the way through the media into our membership throughout, even with some of the newly joined members. It's exciting. And I think people are ready to do things differently. Like, Why not talk about some of these things? Why not try some of these things? What's the worst that can happen? They don't work out and you move on to the next thing. Like, taking some risk is something that this business is hungry for.
I don't know how much you can or cannot say about this, but I'm going to ask it anyways.
All right, you're going to do your job and ask.
I spoke with Brian Newberry, the Navy head football coach, about, I said, Army's coming in, Air Force is the only one not in, so do we just make that call? His response was, I don't think that was necessarily off the table, maybe in the grand scope. I don't know what timing or when, but is that a thought that you're named the American? You have 2 out of 3 of the military institutions represented now. Air Force?
I think it's an easy one for people to speculate on and fuel the rumor mill. What I would say to you is, I made a business even back to my days at Rutgers, and while we were working on some solutions long term, we never discussed it.
Yeah.
And I just think with things like this, especially in this environment, is if conversations take place, then those conversations take place, in a proper way. But for us right now, like, I'm focused on what's in front of us, which is like adding Army is a huge step. It really is. Like, I experienced playing there multiple times. I know what that means. I experienced playing in Navy multiple times. I know what that is. The academies have a national value to what we do. And as far as like opportunities in the future, I'm not going to speculate and fuel the rumor mill on that stuff, because that's really all it is.
We played rapid fire before. We're going to do it again.
Let's
here
do it.
Round out today's show. You get to ask the questions.
I get to ask the questions?
Yeah, so I'm not putting you on the hot seat at all because you've answered all my questions, as you
All right.
always do. So
Have you played the EA college football game yet?
I wanted to sneak over there and play it, and I didn't get a chance to yet. So I was saving up.
What are
my
we in
time.
Congress now? This is a yes or no answer. Yes or no?
Well, I will say that I watched a very terrible hearing with no answers to yes or no questions, staying up last night and seeing that. So have I played it? No. Do I want to? Yes.
Okay.
I'm happy it's back.
What is your biggest concern about the expansion of the postseason in college football?
Oh, that's a good question. My biggest concern is the fact that the 5 automatics do not get treated the same. The top 4 do, the 5th does not. The 5th could end up being a 12 seed, which is ridiculous. And I think, and this is my opinion, but the college football playoff, I have long been, as you know this, banging the drum about the American, not just for the sake of banging the drum, but because I've been with this conference from before a name and a logo, and I saw the value because I know the people. I've seen them go up against getting no respect and responding with tremendous optimism and hard work and winning championships and putting themselves in a good place. I think Houston had a place in the past. I think UCF had a place in the past. I think obviously Cincinnati had a place in the playoff, but had a place the year before that. And now as we step forward, I think my biggest issue is they say that it's fair because on paper it's written that way. But the Big 12, the ACC, the Big 10, and the SEC, I think most people think those are going to get those top 4 based on the rankings that we've seen historically, which means that the American and everybody else is going to be fighting for that 5th, which means that you're not going to get an automatic bid, which is wrong. You're going to have to potentially play on the road, and to be considered a 12 seed and say, okay, the American did what everybody else did, but they have to play their whole series they have to do everything on the road. They can't play at home. They're going to be the underdog the whole way through. This whole just be happy that you're there in this new model, I think, is ridiculous. And I think the American, the Sun Belts, the MAC, Conference USA, and the Mountain West have a gripe, and I understand it. And I will continue to bang that drum home because, yes, progress is great, but progress for the sake of progress without having actual identifiable change is wrong.
Is the Dome Ranger the most misunderstood mascot in college sports?
The Dome Ranger. I would honestly say the Stanford Cardinal being a Christmas tree really throws me off as to what any of that means. And I also was speaking with Tom Herman, and I said, you're one of 3 owls. And he took a step back and he goes, you know what, I never even thought about it.
I love that.
So Mike Bloomgren said that for Rice they do this, but I said just point to you after. So he did this and that, and then I asked what FAU does, and they said they do this, and then I asked Temple, and Stan Drayton said, like, we don't have a hand gesture. We're just going to knock you on your butt, and that's the way that we show ourselves.
I like that answer. All right, last one.
Yes.
Who's got the best uniform in the league?
Man, I got to go to the mascot for that. Yeah, I am so hard pressed. Lisa Campos would call me a liar if I said anything else. The Roadrunner's so cool.
It's a cool logo.
And I remember reaching out to her. And by the way, we have gone through what you actually meant this morning, because you mentioned Lisa Campos, and then you said future commissioner, and she said he was mentioning my son Christopher when you said that.
I mean, he was dressed like the future commissioner.
But some people were thinking that you meant Lisa, and they're like, okay, what does that mean? And I said, listen, take that as respect for your job, but knowing Christopher and Wake Up Call being the first place he's ever done an interview, I can honestly say that he's probably going to be hunting for your job down the road.
He will. He's primed. So enjoyed it, Dan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, dude.
Once again, the Commissioner of the American, Tim Pernetti, here with us, always giving us time. And thank you for being transparent, for being candid, and doing what you do.
We'll do it again soon.
Thank you, sir. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There's a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience, it's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really changed the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servamation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here inside of the Heritage Hill Studios every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Can't thank you enough for being a part of the show where sports meets life. Heritage Hill coming to you on 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York at the Brew House out in the country and out in the city right by Syracuse Hancock International Airport. You'll find them at Heritage Hill North on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, right there at historic Sweetheart Corner. So we look forward to you coming out to Heritage Hill, trying their amazing drinks and food, and enjoying the views as well as their newest location there in North Syracuse at Heritage Hill North. As always, drink responsibly, and we appreciate you going out and supporting local and supporting small business. Inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com is what's poppin'. Our conversation with Eric Morris, North Texas Mean Green head football coach, will be coming up after Ed Folli here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So we're going to flip-flop that and have Ed coming up here in just a moment as we get set for our Bearcat Breakroom, and very excited for the opportunity to bring you this Bearcat Breakroom with Ed Folli as we celebrate his time as a coach as well as his time in the game more than anything else over the years, over 3 decades, and how he's called it not just a coach but a caretaker of the game. So very excited to have Ed on the show. As you know, for those of you that have been watching over the past few months, we have a wonderful partnership with Binghamton University, an exclusive multimedia marketing partnership, which gives us the opportunity to share the stories of coaches as well as student athletes and alumni and so on and so forth. Administration, of course, Gene Marshall, the athletics director, sharing these stories throughout the year. And we have done so much in such a small amount of time, which has been absolutely incredible. It's been a ton of fun, and I'm very much looking forward to everything that's going to come from here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora with this incredible partnership with Binghamton University and the Bearcats. And Ed Folli going to be joining us here now, picture in picture, in this newest edition of the Bearcat Breakroom, coming to you during Bearcat time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single Tuesday, right around 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So we have Ed here with us picture in picture, and we have the opportunity to speak with Ed Folli here on the broadcast. So let's bring him in. And first and foremost, Ed, how are you doing today? I know we're waiting here to just have the mic unmuted, and once that is, we'll talk with you. So Ed, how are you?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Dan. I'm well, thank you.
And Ed, I want to go, there's so many places we can go in this conversation and your love for the game, but something that really hit me in an interview that you've done prior is that you didn't call yourself a coach, you called yourself a caretaker of the game. And I'd love to get your thoughts on that and why you chose the word caretaker.
Well, I think when I say caretaker, I learned how to play the game and follow the game years ago by some very great coaches who not only taught the fundamentals of, hitting, pitching, fielding, and so forth, but how to behave, how to act on the field, and those kind of things. And I feel like in some ways that's gotten away from baseball. And so to me, the caretaker is I want to teach the game the way it was taught to me, and I want to see my players play and act in that way. So yeah, I'm a caretaker, I think, of the game of baseball.
And to go back all the way to the beginning, Ed, what was it about baseball when you were growing up as a kid? How did baseball call to you? I want to go back to those initial moments when you were like, this is different to me. This is something I want to chase.
Yeah, that's a heck of a question. I guess my father, my dad grew up in the shadows of Yankee Stadium. He was a city kid along with my mom. His heroes were Joe DiMaggio. He called him the greatest player he's ever seen. And my dad never played baseball. My dad was a softball player. And so I pitched to him in the backyard. I would wait patiently to see his car. He was a hardworking carpenter. But I would wait patiently to see his car coming down the street. I'd be sitting on the steps of our porch, glove in hand, and knew that he would never tell me he was too tired. And I knew he was later. But yeah, so it all started then, about 7. And I was thinking the other night that I have been in a baseball uniform of some sort since I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
And I'll be 74 in December, and it'll be the first time come this year that I'm not wearing a uniform, and that's scary. That's frightening. I don't know how I'm going to handle that.
So, I mean, you said from 7 years old till now, you've been wearing a uniform in some way, shape, or form. So, what was it about now that you said, okay, I'm going to take the uniform off after all of this time? If you said it's scary to think about, what made you get to a point where you said this is going to be the time to do it?
I think there were some signs over the last maybe 2 years. Some were subtle, some were not. I think, Dan, the major factor in all this is a health issue I'm having with my lower back. I struggle at times with that. I take injections. I think I'm a borderline candidate for surgery, which I'm really trying to avoid.
Yeah.
But no matter what people might think when they see a coach bus roll down the highway, they look so big and they look like they're really neat to ride and cool. They're uncomfortable. They really are. And it's easy when you're on the bus from Binghamton driving to play Albany. That's a short trip, and it's not difficult at all.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that 10 hours to Maine, 10 hours into North Carolina, not so easy. So I think that was the major factor. I've always told our head coach, Tim, who I adore, if it ever gets to the point, Tim, where you don't think I'm being productive part of your staff, or I don't feel like I'm connecting with the kids, I want to be gone.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case, honestly. I still feel like I have something to offer and that I can teach the game of baseball to the kids, and maybe more than baseball. Maybe there's another side of being an athlete and being a ball player mentally that you have to be able to fight your way through at times. The game's not easy.
Yeah.
It is not a game of success. It's a game of failure. And so maybe my presence in the dugout isn't always one that's going to teach somebody how to make a double play, but maybe it's a little bit beyond that. And I feel like I can still do that, but the physical part of it with the travel, it's worn me out.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, it's not an end of the loving of the game. It's not a belief that you can't coach or that you can't still help someone to get the best out of them. It's something that is beyond that. And when that happens in life, when, like you said, a 10-hour bus ride and having issues with your back and whatnot, I mean, that seems like something that, I mean, you've dealt with for such a long time, you've gone through it for such a long time, but you still love it today. And I think what the biggest thing is that I'm hearing in this conversation, I'm sad that you're sitting here going like, hey, I have lower back issues, it's uncomfortable on the bus, but I'm not hearing you say, I'm not in love with the game anymore. The student athletes changed. I can't connect with them. I don't feel like I want to go out to the field anymore. That's not what I'm hearing. And after all these years, Ed, that is a beautiful thing to hear. That
Thank you.
you've never stopped loving the diamond, essentially.
That won't happen. That will never happen. It's funny when I have a grandson who's 10. Yeah, I have 8 grandchildren, but only one boy, and he loves baseball and sport. And my son, I have 2 sets of twins, my wife and I, and my son is coaching him in the Little League. And my son said, Dad, when the season's over, I want you to come and help out and be my assistant with the Little League. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And it was, I hate to say this, but it was the worst experience on the baseball field I've ever had. I will never do it again. And it had nothing to do with 10-year-olds. I love that. It had a lot to do with adults. So that's one area in baseball I'm not going. And I'll tell you what, I've been in just about every area because uh, I've had this great 18 years at the Division I level of baseball. I had 33 years with high school baseball.
Yeah.
I did 5 years with the Binghamton Mets as a left-handed batting practice guy that was able to stay in the dugouts during the game and see some great young men come through and get to my favorite team, which is the Mets. So I've covered it all. But Little League baseball, no thanks.
Here with Ed Folli this morning in this edition of the Bearcat Breakroom. You brought up something, Ed, that I agree with, and it's very frustrating. But I was not too far away when I was in the Carbondale, Pennsylvania area, and I started coaching soccer. And when I started coaching soccer, I had long story short, it was U12 soccer, ages 8 to 11. The coach that was there before, they didn't want the coach there anymore. He had taught the children how to cheat. And when I came and took over the team, he's in his 40s. I'm 22. I took over the team, had never coached soccer before. We struggled a bit, but I told the kids, I said, we're not going to cheat to win. And they got mad, not mad, but they said, Coach, we were winning so many games last year because we could slide tackle, and Coach told us to get down and put our cleats out and go after people's shins, and when we knocked them out of the game, that's how we would win. And I said, well, we're not going to win by maiming people. So it was frustrating for them at times that we were going to do it the right way. Well, I was met on the field, Ed, at 7 o'clock at night. He waited for all the parents to leave. His son was on the team. Waited for everybody to leave. It's dark outside. There's no witnesses. And he spent about 20 minutes to a half an hour in my face, nose to nose, telling me how awful of a coach I am. And basically telling me all the parents hate you. They want you to leave. I'll take over the team. And I remember standing there saying to him, I don't think you know who I am. And he looked at me. I said, I haven't blinked this entire time that you've stood in front of me, and I'll stay with you here until the sun comes up, but I'm going to coach this team, and I'm not going to back down to a threat. So I know what you're talking about, but it makes me sad because every time I think about coaching basketball or soccer or something again, Ed, I think about the fact that I don't want to deal with that element of it, of the way that parents are now, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Yeah, I think you're on to it. What I saw over a little bit over a month was an incredible investment in winning
Yeah.
by the parents and some of the coaches. And I think there should be a bigger investment, Dan, as you just pointed out, in teaching the game. So I think there's baseball and I think there's Little League baseball. And I feel there's a huge gap there.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree with you on that. So, Ed, for you, spending all
yeah.
this time that you've spent, you know what it's like to win a New York State title. You know what it's like to have so much success at the collegiate Division I level. As we go through this history of over 30 years before Binghamton and then getting into almost 20 years in Binghamton, I'm not trying to date you here, Ed. I'm trying to talk about how much success you've had. But I want to go back. I want to go back to the high school level and what that was
Sure.
like for you, because Union Endicott, Maine Endwell, this area of the Southern Tier itself, it knows what it's like to have very successful baseball in young kids, in student athletes. And
Yeah.
you've been a part of that rich history in upstate New York. So I'd love to go back to that.
Okay. Hope I can remember at my age. But I was a graduate of Union Endicott High School, a three-sport athlete there.
Yeah.
Graduated in the late 60s. When I never thought I was going to come back there. Not that I didn't want to, but I didn't know if it was possible. I went to Springfield College, which was a Division II school in those days, on a baseball scholarship, and returned to Endicott in '74. And there weren't coaching positions open. I wanted to coach, but there weren't just nothing there.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was able to get a spot on my mentor and second father's name was Fran Angeline. He was a legendary guy. I got on the football staff, spent 23 years there. We won 2 state championships. I learned so much from him on how to be. People always said to me, who's the best baseball coach you ever had? I said, Fran Angeline. They would say, well, he never coached baseball. I'm like, no, he didn't. But he taught me how to coach it. And I worked 11 years at the lower levels. I worked in Binghamton High School, coached their JV team for 3 years.
Yeah.
Then they consolidated. Binghamton used to be Binghamton North, Binghamton Central, 2 high schools. They consolidated. And when that happened, there were 2 varsity baseball coaches. Well, one of them was going to get the JV job, and I was out. So that happened. And that's when I moved to Johnson City High School and coached their JV team for 3 years. And that is where I encountered a young, talented 14-year-old baseball player named Tim Sinicki. And Tim was my guy. So I spent 3 years there. And then the JV job opened up at Endicott, and I went back there. And Pete Sylvester was the head coach, one of my great friends and mentors as well. And he was winning. Oh, Endicott baseball was winning. Far before I got there, Dan, they were winning. Sectional titles, you name it. They couldn't quite finish it off with a state title, but they did everything else but. And I was the JV coach, and we were doing well. And Pete and I worked hand in hand together and practiced every day and whatnot. And then I eventually took over that job. But talented kids went through UE. Back in those days, the athletes that we were cutting kids, literally, that could play for other teams.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it just evolved that I had all these great players, and I was very into baseball and into wanting to be the best. And so here I am selling this product and telling kids, here's what I expect. I'm going to hold you accountable. We're going to do this, this, and this. We won't be taking days off. If it's snowing out and other teams are saying we're not coming into the gym today, we're coming in. And they bought in. They bought in. And they wanted to win. And in 2001, it finally happened that we were able to win a state title with an incredibly talented team. The guy that's most often spoken about on that team was Jim Johnson,
Yeah.
because Jim went on to a successful major league career. But believe me, he wasn't the best athlete on the team. He was the best pitcher, but we had tremendous athletes, and so that was a wonderful thing to bring that title for those kids back to Endicott, knowing that there were so many great teams ahead of them that couldn't do it, and these kids did it. And then 2 years later, for us to win again, and for me to have the good fortune, Dan, of having my two boys on that team and be major players in that starting lineup. That was really, really special. So yeah, you know what happens a lot, and I'm sure you're aware of it, but when you have a winning program, and I was lucky enough to have that, but again, it was a winning program before I took over.
Yeah.
Kids don't want to be the one to drop the ball.
Yeah.
The next team that comes along does not want to be the team that's not very good.
Yeah.
So they work hard to try to maintain that tradition. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud of them very much. They'll never leave my lives. That's for sure. They'll never leave my life.
And you said, getting to have your sons there and getting to experience that. I have been spoiled that I've been around a lot of stories of people with their kids being able to celebrate the moment by being on the same team at the same time. And this is yet another one of those really incredible stories. It's so rare, yet I think God has really spoiled me in being able to tell some of these rare stories. What was that experience like for you personally, to be able to celebrate with family, but instead of having the boys run to you after the game, you're coaching them, you're with them, you're there? I mean, bring me into that.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't always easy. My wife has been incredible. I coached 3 sports at one time when I was a young man, and she raised those kids. I was never home. If we weren't practicing, we were scouting or doing something. But when my boys, when they were finally of age and talent to be on the varsity baseball team, the one thing I made sure that everyone understood, Mom and the guys, I said, you know what? You can't be average. Average player, I can't play you, because now people are going to look and say, those guys they're not that good, but their dad's the coach. So I made it very clear that they had to excel. They had to be, when people came to watch us play, they had to say, EJ and Mike Folli are really good players. And they were. And that's why they played. And so when we were able to celebrate that state championship together as a family, a pretty special moment for sure in my career. No question. And I had a younger son named Ty. Yeah. He was a few years younger than the boys, but the next year he was a freshman, and they were seniors in 2004, and he became the first freshman player to make the varsity baseball team at UE, and that's pretty special too. And he deserved to be there. He was one of the better guys, even though he was in 9th grade.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, that history, and a congratulations to all your children and the successes that they've had, not just on the baseball field, but off of it. And for you, Ed, I mean, having that, some parents say, I love it, and some say it's difficult, and there's always the notion that you're harder on your kids. You said, like you had just mentioned, you told the boys, like, you got to be good. You can't be average, because if you're average, I can't play you, because then they're going to say to me, well, you're playing them because they're your sons. So right. How did that dynamic not only happen on the baseball field, but around the dinner table? Because you had to be dad, but you had to be coach. And so dad, there to console you, there to raise you up, there to help you, there to give you that tough love. But then you got coach there to tell you, like, you made a mistake, you need to fix this. Yeah. And a lot of people, when coach says something, they go home and talk to their parents. Well, when Ed Folli says something, they go home with coach. So what was that dynamic like?
You know what? What's immediately coming to mind. I'm very proud of my sons for their ability on the field. We played a lot of baseball in my house, backyard, wiffle ball, whatever. They learned to bunt. We used to swing away. We used to have wiffle ball bats in the family room, and I would pitch to them from my lounge chair,
Yeah.
and they would swing away. And my wife at one point came in and said, this has to stop because you're starting to break things. And I said to my wife, okay, we'll stop BP, but we're not going to stop bunting. We're going to learn to bunt. So they bunted in the living room, and we ran the bases to pillows and made a game out of it. They were all excellent bunters, because we couldn't swing anymore. But I'll tell you what, I'm really really proud of what I'm about to tell you about my sons.
Yeah.
They never gave me any inside information from the locker room, and I didn't want it. They never once came home and said, Dad, John's, he stays out late most nights and he comes to practice and he's this and that. Never. I never got any information from them about the team. And I'll tell you, to their credit, it's not easy to be the coach's son
Yeah.
or sons in the locker room. That's tough for them.
Yeah.
But they handled it, and to this day, they've been great about that. And I'm proud. I'm really proud of the friends that they made on the baseball team that they still have today. No one ever thought for 1 minute that they were going to get ratted out by the Follies. Never. And when we sat at the dinner table, there was no talk of that. Zero. And very little talk of games, honestly. Very little.
Ed Folli here with us this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, this Bearcat Breakroom in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University and the Bearcats. You are in the Section 4 Hall of Fame. That happened in March 2016. You're in the Greater Binghamton Sports Hall of Fame that happened last year in 2023. I know that he's an earshot away, so I'm going to put him on the seat here. John Hartrick is there at Binghamton University for the Hall of Fame. Ed, are you thinking that maybe you're going to go in there? I'm sorry,
No.
John, to say this, but I have to say it out loud.
No, I'm not, and I shouldn't be. I am an assistant coach. That's what I am. And the fact that I'm a volunteer coach for 18 years, that doesn't matter either. I was a spoke in the wheel of a great baseball program run by one heck of a coach, Tim Sinicki. Tim will be in the Hall of Fame here, and deservedly so. And this guy, he goes well beyond teaching the game of baseball. His demands on his players and how he holds them accountable for their behavior, for their academic success, only translates onto the baseball field. Tim's a Hall of Fame guy here. I'm not. There are several other people in other venues here, sports, that will go into the Hall of Fame. I don't need to. I don't deserve to, and I really don't want to. I don't need to be there.
For you, the humility is admirable. You're in 2 other Hall of Fames. You have had accolades that have come throughout your career, Ed. You've been named,
sometimes.
State Coach of the Year twice, winningest baseball coach in Union Endicott history. And we look at what you've done in 17 seasons at Union Endicott, 8 sectional titles, 3 regional titles, 2 state championships. You mentioned the one in 2001. Your record at Union Endicott, 275 wins to 93 losses. So of the accolades that you do have and of the Hall of Fames that you are in, what are your thoughts on that? The humility of what you just said about Binghamton University, which I think people might disagree with you, but there's a lot that you've accomplished.
Let's keep actually, I only was there 16 years, not 17 as the head coach, but I think we have to always put things in perspective too, Dan. You don't get recognition, or very seldom do you get recognition without winning.
Right.
I know some really good coaches that unfortunately their teams just didn't have the talent to win. I am recognized for winning. We don't win at UE without great players. And trust me when I tell you, I had great players.
Yeah.
I really did. And they're the ones that got me to be in the Section 4 Hall of Fame or the Greater Binghamton Hall of Fame. We don't win, then Ed Folli is playing golf 2 or 3 times a week, and no one knows who I am, and they don't really care. So I owe it all to my players. Every single bit of my success is due to them. And I have to add, my wife, because she allowed me to pursue my love of the game. She allowed it. She raised 4 kids. I would be down on this. This is not a stretch. This is fact. You could find me down at Union Endicotts Field on a Sunday with a weed eater in hand, trimming the fence line and the warning track, and that was on Mother's Day. She was fantastic. I wonder today, in today's world, and I know I'm making a rather bold statement, but it's just who I am. I've never been afraid to speak my mind. I wonder in today's world of coaching with these young guys, if their wives allow them to do that. Or if they say to them, this raising of a family is a 2-way street.
Yeah.
And you're never home, and I need your help, and I need this, and I need that. I've seen a lot of very excellent young coaches with chances to have long and great careers, and suddenly they're out. They drop. They're not coaching anymore.
Yeah.
And they'll give a lot of reasons as to why, but you wonder sometimes if their better half at home just doesn't want to let them spend that kind of time to have a successful program. My wife did.
Well, and you bring up a lot of things, and I ask these questions not to push you into accolades, but because I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate the fact that you're giving credit beyond yourself. I appreciate the fact that it's not all about that to you. I think, Ed, the world needs to see, and I think I fight this every day, but I think the world needs to see that beyond shiny medals and beyond trophies and beyond followers on social media and money and mansions and clicks and all that stuff, that we have to really get back to building, developing, fostering, and sustaining relationships. And it sounds like that's been paramount to you, is making sacrifices, building relationships, following your dreams, and doing the dirty work, literally, like you talked about with a weed eater. I mean, it's not glamorous to clean up a field. It's not glamorous to take, dirty shirts and socks and whatnot and throw them in the laundry type of thing. There's a lot of things that you do as a coach, and there's a lot of things that you do chasing your dreams in general that involve you either figuratively or literally putting your knees in the mud and going to work. Why have you been so willing and wanting to do all of the things that nobody sees? I mean, when we look at a profile for Ed Folli, there's nothing in there that says how many times you had the weed eater out, how many holidays that you were doing something with the team, how many phone calls you had to make, how many times you were trying to help guys make connections in recruiting. There's no statistical analysis of the dirty work. So why were you so willing to do it?
I think because I was driven to be the best. I really was. I wanted to have the best teams. I wanted to have the best facility, and I did. We had a high school baseball facility that was second to none around here for so many years, and we did it ourselves. We didn't have any money from the school. We did it by pounding on doors and getting donations and having dads and whatnot come down and build our dugouts and build our press box and put our fences up and eventually lights. And we had an incredible facility. The only facility better in town was the BMATs, the AA Park. Other than that, I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful to Binghamton University, but when I came from UE High School to Binghamton,
Yeah.
it was a letdown as far as the facility was concerned. What Tim was forced to play on was an absolute embarrassment. And now he's got this beautiful state of the art, and he deserves it. He deserves it. When I first got here, he and I, I'm laughing about it, but he and I used to stay after practice or come early to practice to cut the field, to mow the infield, to drag and float it, to water it and get it ready for those kids. And we, both of us, loved doing it. And now we got this turf field, which you really don't have to do hardly anything with.
Yeah.
And he's got a facility that I have been very privileged in my life to be in professional ballparks, seen their locker rooms, been to the spring training sites. This place takes a second seat to nobody. It's incredible. And you know, you touched on championships and rings, and I have a lot of those, and I'm grateful. But yeah, it's the relationships that mean the most to me. My phone has been blowing up with Binghamton University baseball players wanting to talk to me, wanting to text to me over the last. It's unbelievable. It's so rewarding. It's far more important than any America East championship. Far more. The kids at UE that I've become lifetime friends with. Some of them are now, believe it or not, they're in their 40s and 50s, and in some cases 60s. They come to my house. They visit. It's way better than any championship. I have to tell you one quick story to kind of substantiate what I'm telling you, what I'm saying to you. So we went to Stanford here a few years ago for a regional, and we're out on the field getting ready to do an in and out. And my son Mike, who's on the staff, and he's going to be a great coach. He's only been in it 6 or 7 years, but he's going to be a good one. And he says to me, Dad, there's a guy over here. He wants to talk to you. He says, I think it's Ricky Wattman. I'm like, what? Ricky Wattman played for me in 1993. Tremendous ball player. I look over, he's standing there with his father, smiling at me. I walk over. I'm like, Ricky, I get this big embrace. I said, when did you move to California? He said, oh, I don't live here. He goes, I still live in Montana. I said, wait a second. You still live in Montana and you're here? What are you doing? He says, I came to see you.
Yeah. Wow. As soon as you said that, I got tears in my eyes.
No, I'm fighting him.
You know what I mean? Like that. But that, like those moments, and you brought me back to a moment with Syracuse cornerback Julian Wiggum that I was doing this fantasy football. I've been doing fantasy football forever. And I said to Julian lived 5 hours away. And I said, Julian, you want to be a part of the league? It would be great to see you. I got a spot open. He was like, yeah, I'm there. And he drove 5 hours, got pulled over, was in a rainstorm, got there. He goes, dude, I'm going to be late. I'm sorry. I end up drafting for him. He gets there right as the draft is ending. He stands and he talks to me, and he's like by me, and he's excited, and he's standing right there next to me. We're talking together. We prayed together. We were at the Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus. We prayed together. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to go home. And I was like, dude, what do you mean? I said, you got here. You missed the whole draft. You know, you've been here for a couple hours. Now you're leaving. He said, yeah. He said, I came here because I wanted to see you. I wanted to support you. I just wanted to be here. I drove 5 hours here. I saw you for a little bit, and now I'm going to drive back home. And I was like, you don't have anywhere else to be? Like, I'm not a stop on the way. It was like, no, I came here because I told you I would, and now I'm going back home. Like, Ed, when you said that, that's exactly what I thought, and not to take away from anything that you said. It's like,
No.
to echo the reality of, like, I don't know if people in today's world understand that awards and money and followers and clicks and all this stuff, like when somebody tells you I went out of my way and planned my day to just support you and then go back home, like what you just did, you did it physically, you just fell back in the chair. I mean, there's no words that can paint the picture of what that does to your soul.
You're right. You're right. I have some Syracuse baseball roots, Dan.
Let me hear
So
'em.
just to bring it up, because I know that's where you are.
Yeah.
But as a young coach, JV started when I was a JV coach at UE, and then later, obviously, matriculated to my varsity years. But I was a I was a regular at Dick Rockwell's Lemoyne College baseball camp. And let me tell you what an experience that was and how that made me a better coach and caretaker of the game.
Yeah.
Because that was 1 week every summer. We had over 300 kids at this camp.
Yeah.
I love rock. I love them. And we had coaches from not just New York State. We had them from all over the place, as far as Virginia and beyond, to come in there. And if you don't think that you can become better at your trade by sitting around at night with over 30 coaches and talking the game, let me tell you, that camp did a lot for me. And it did a lot for kids. Those camps, I don't think, exist anymore, because nowadays parents, they don't send their kids for instruction in a major camp like that. It's more one-on-one. They have a pitching coach or a hitting coach or whatever. And then they go to these showcase camps so that guys like Tim Sinicki and my son will see them and want to recruit them at Binghamton. But the Lemoyne baseball camp was very special in my life. Yeah, and Kevin, that's where I met Kevin as a youngster. Kevin's at CNS now, isn't he? I believe he's the head coach there.
Yeah, we just started doing we've been doing a lot with the high schools over the years, and we've been trying to find a home for our CNS show, and we actually did find it. So yeah, Kevin Rockwell's over at CNS now, so I'm hoping that him and I will be sitting down with the team soon. I got a bunch of places I want to go. I'll get to a few of them, and then you'll have to hopefully entertain me with the opportunity to do this again. But
make sure you give Kevin Rockwell my regards.
I will. I definitely will. I want to go back to the Binghamton Mets, because you said you had the opportunity to work with them.
Yeah.
So the Binghamton Mets, at one point in their history, probably want to forget it, but they were called the Stud Muffins, and now they're the Rumble Ponies.
Yeah.
I want to dive into two things. One, what was it like to work with the Binghamton Mets and to have the opportunity, like you said, to see so many tremendous people come through, because there's a purity of the game and a respect of the game in baseball that you don't see everywhere, where no matter where you were drafted, what round you're in, what's going on, what money you're making, you have to earn your keep. It's like, okay, you've been drafted. Now maybe you're going to start in single A, maybe you're going to start in double A, get to triple A, but you have to earn your way onto the team. It's not like other sports where it's like you get drafted, you're the number one player drafted in the NFL, so you're going to be the starting quarterback day one. Our team is horrible. We need you in there. We see so many times guys that were drafted down the line, as well as guys that were drafted early, having to show themselves, and then some of those guys that weren't drafted high, passing those guys in single A, double A, triple A to get into Major League Baseball based on their work ethic, based on what they're doing, the opportunity and whatnot. So going through the farm system, what was it like to work with the Binghamton Mets? And what is your honest opinion about Stud Muffin and Rumble Pony? I have to ask Ed.
I understand the Rumble Pony part of it. They wanted an identity for the county, and I guess the carousels that we are most famous for here became a big factor in the Rumble. The Stud Muffins, no thanks. I'm not an advocate of that. I love them. I'm a Met fan, so
Yeah.
that was like a dream. And when they called me when I announced my retirement from high school, I had a friend, a local friend named Lou Ferraro, who had coached Binghamton High School for many, many years. and he was involved with the B Mets in the front office area. So I guess the way the story goes is their manager was Mako Oliveras, and Mako was looking for someone left-handed who could throw batting practice. And Lou said, "Well, I know a guy that might love to do it." And they called me, and I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." So I'll never forget the first day I went was a Sunday afternoon game. And I got there, they told me to be there at whatever, 10 o'clock, whatever. They put me in uniform and the whole thing, and I got to meet Mako, the coach, the manager, I should say. And they were facing a lefty that day. I can't remember the damn guy's name. I think he was a lefty named Miller. He was with the Tiger organization. Big 6'6" guy. You know, I'm 5'9". And so Mako says, "Yeah, I want you to throw."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay." So I go out and I start throwing BP. And after the first group of hitters, they came out and relieved me. They had another coach throw. And as I said, "Did I do something wrong?" They go, "No, you threw." I said, "Yeah, but there's two more groups." They go, "No, when you're here, you only throw to one group." And I'm like, high school, I threw to every kid. You're not going to worry about that. So anyway, I threw to the guy. Basically, I was thrown to the starting lineup that day.
Yeah.
And after I threw, I showered and went home. The next day, I come back to the ballpark, and Mako calls me. He goes, "Come here, get in my office." And I'm like, "Oh boy, I'm gonna catch hell for something." And he says, "Where did you go after you threw?" I said, "I went home. I showered and went home." He goes, "People tell me you're a baseball guy. I want you to stay in the dugout, be part of us. You know, we'll talk. We'll have things to talk about in the game." I was thrilled. So for 5 years, I was in the dugout every night. I worked for Mako. I worked for Tim Tuffle, and I worked. And these are guys that I watched on TV that I adored. And I tell you what, I worked for Wally Backman, and what a guy! I mean, this guy played to win, and I love that about him. But I saw a lot of players go through and become really good major league players. I'll give you a couple names that I remember and threw to. Ike Davis for the Mets, Lucas Duda. Those two guys. Reese Havens was the number one pick. He was great. Josh Tolley. Josh caught the only Mets no-hitter and and I'm still friends with Josh. Josh lives here in the area. And then we had guys come down on rehab that were fantastic. One of my favorites was Jose Reyes came down. And I asked Jose one day if during his workout, if I could bring my Binghamton University infielders over. At that time, I was the head infield guy here.
Yeah.
Yes, bring them. And my guys came down and they stood on the sidelines and they watched him go through his workout. They watched his footwork. They watched his arm action. They watched a lot of things. Great guy. Great guy. So those years with the Mets, some of the guys wanted me to travel with them. And I'm like, "Guys, I'm not traveling." So I just finished 3 months of busing, and I don't want to do it. But they coaxed me into it. I actually took a couple trips to Bowie because that was one of the shorter rides, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm still friends today with some of the players and the trainer for the Mets now, head trainer Joe Golia. He and I became very tight too, and he's in the big leagues now. So that was a great experience to be able to do that with the Mets. Yeah.
Before we get into rapid fire to round out this Bearcat break room on Wake Up Call inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, I have a prop. It's right off screen. Now, I'm a Diamondback fan.
Oh boy.
And I've been a Diamondback fan since they came out in '98. But a few years ago, full disclosure, dated a young lady on Long Island, and her mom, incredible. I feel like I fit in the family. It was almost like I don't need to date you. I just kind of want to hang out with the family. And her mom is a big-time Mets fan. Wonderful, wonderful lady. And because of her, even though she was a little hard on my Diamondbacks, they weren't good that year. Because of her mom, I started watching the Mets more, and I was watching Jacob deGrom at the time, and I was watching Pete Alonso. So I had a the first pair of sunglasses I ever remember owning are a pair of Met sunglasses I got when I was 4 years old. They're blue. They say Mets on them. I could see out, but you can't see my eyes. And now I have this guy that sits right off a screen.
Oh, goodness.
Mr. Alonso. So my question to you is, since I have a soft spot for the Mets, I am a Diamondback through and through, and I will be with them forever. But I do have a soft spot for the Mets. I do cheer on the Mets when they're not playing my Diamondbacks. I do want them to make the postseason. Pete Alonso, he turned down an extension of his contract before the season started. Is Alonso done as a Met, Mr. Foley?
He might be. I mean, you know, Aaron Judge, I'm not a Yankee fan. My dad, like I said, he grew up a Yankee fan, and he was brokenhearted and when I was 12 years old in '62, and the Mets came into being, and I jumped ship, and my dad was so disappointed. And I've been a Met fan since then. But, you know, Aaron Judge, as the anti-Yankee guy that I am, he bet on himself. He bet on himself for this contract that he got, and he came through.
Yeah.
And Alonso, I think, has done the same thing, but he's having a rough year. And I think when you watch him play, and I like him and all that, and I think can be good, but boy, does he have a lot of holes, and he doesn't swing out a lot of strikes. When you watch Judge and you watch Soto hit, those two guys, they command the batter's box. They very rarely chase, very rarely. Alonso is a hell of a hitter when he, you know, like Ron Darling says, if you want to be a better hitter, swing at better pitches. And he doesn't do that. So I don't know if the Mets will go on board and spend a lot of money on him at this stage when he's looking like he's easy to pitch to. And I thought at the beginning of the season, if you would have cornered Met fans and asked them, you know, do the Mets need to resign? Do they want it? They would have said without question, we can't let him go. We can't let him go. We can't let him go.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that would be the answer as we sit here today. So the way I look at it is if you can get a big return, a real big return on a guy who's a home run hitter, I might do it. I might do it. But if he stays with us, I'm okay with that too, because I feel like he probably knows what he has to do to get better, and hopefully would do everything he could to change what's happening right now in his hitting. Yeah.
Pete, listen to Ed. Get yourself out there. Get working here. Bearcat Breakroom, Ed Foley here on.
I love the guy. I don't dislike him. I love him, but
no, I know. I mean, listen, he's one of the reasons why I enjoy watching the Mets, and so I just want things to work out for.
I mean, nobody's at this stage of his career. Nobody's walking Pete intentionally every night like they do to Judge. With nobody on base, they walk Judge because, I mean, the guy can beat you with one swing, and he's in scoring position every time he steps into the batter's box. So,
yeah, and I got Mets fans watching and listening right now, loving this. So, Ed, let's jump into rapid fire here in this Bearcat Break Room with Ed Foley. Like I said, I feel like time flew by, and I have a ton of things I want to pick your brain about, so hopefully we could continue to do that beyond this. But rapid fire allows us an opportunity to ask any question about anything. Coaches never get to ask questions. I flip the script here on the show and give you the opportunity to do it. So, Ed, we'll go back and forth. It could be baseball, sports, or anything in the world. Music, movies, food. You get to ask me the first question. What do you got?
Where are you from?
I am born and raised in Syracuse, New York, North Side, Hispanic and Italian. A lot of Italians up here in Syracuse, New York.
Sure.
And I grew up within walking distance of the greatest bakery on the planet, Lincourt Bakery, if you don't know it. And yeah, so my dad still lives in the same house. My mom lives down the street in my grandmother's house, and I'm not too far away from them. So I think we're at least 4 generations in Syracuse, and been wanting to kind of just a little addition to the answer. John knows this. I've wanted to work with the Southern Tier with Binghamton for a long time, and I did a lot of work with high schools in the area. because an hour away, I felt like there needed to be more of a spotlight on high schools, on Binghamton University, on what's happening in the area. So this is huge and very meaningful to me because the drive to Binghamton from Syracuse doesn't feel like much, Ed, because I went to school at Marywood in Scranton, PA, and Binghamton was the midpoint. So getting to Binghamton is very kind of like shut the brain off and go because it's not that far away. But yeah, born and raised in Syracuse, and I love my hometown. I love
Dan,
upstate
can
New
I,
York.
while it's fresh in my mind, can I ask you another question?
Go ahead.
Have you ever been to the Empire State Brewery?
Have I ever been to the Empire State
I
Brewery?
think it was called the Empire State Brewery.
Is
Empire.
Yeah, the Empire Room. Is that the thing that
Yeah.
was Armory Square down?
Yeah, it was I think it was a beer place originally with whatever they call them now, the craft beers and all that.
Yeah.
The reason I asked that question
Go ahead. Yeah.
is that was owned and operated at one time. I don't know if it still is, by a former Union Endicott baseball player.
So the funny thing about that is the Empire Room. I have been there.
Okay.
So yeah, you came in. It was right by what used to be PJ Dorsey's, and you would walk down. You would like literally be on the street, walk down under the street, go in. So I think I did go in there once. When the
Okay.
Empire Room was there, it was like prior to a lot of these breweries coming up. They kind of were
Yes.
ahead of the ball game
Yes.
in a big way. And funny that you say it, a couple weekends ago, I walked by it, and me and the person I was walking with, we both looked and were like, is that where the Empire Room used to be? So they were kind of like pioneers back then.
Yeah, they were. His name was David Katleski. He was a darn good baseball player.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
I love
for
that.
what
Love
that
that
is.
connection to it. My question back to you, and I'm going to go
Okay.
to food. I want to go to food
All right.
here. So Ed, if I come down to Binghamton this weekend and I say, all right, I'm down in Binghamton for the weekend, and I'm going to meet up with Ed Folli, where are you
Yep.
taking me to eat in Binghamton, and why?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. My favorite restaurant is the Oaks Inn on Oak Hill Avenue in Endicott.
Okay.
Been around forever. Long family operated for, geez, I mean, I go back into the 60s. We used to go there after our football games and for pizza. You can't get a pizza there anymore. It's just strictly a restaurant. But we're gonna go there, and I'm gonna have my favorite dish, which is shrimp fra diavolo. So you gotta like a little kick in your. And I don't get it. It can be served over pasta, but I don't get it over the pasta. I just want it in a bowl. It's more served like a stew. I have my pasta on the side. That's where I'm taking you, to Oaks Inn. And there's probably sexier restaurants, and they're good. You can't beat McCoy's Chop House, and Jim has always been a supporter of my program. His kid played on our 2001 state championship team. You can go to Remlick's and get the pork chop, which is outstanding. There's Cacciatore's. Frank Cacciatore played football for us when I was coaching, and Frank has taken all of his grandmother and mother's recipes to his restaurant in Johnson City. Tremendous place, tremendous, very, very family oriented and very family priced.
Yeah. No, I like that, and the shrimp fra diavolo, I actually make one myself. So, and I had a really good one down in New Orleans.
You did.
Very good. My second question, and I like that. Now I'm hungry. My second question for you, Ed, is what is your single greatest off the field memory at Binghamton University?
Jeez. That's a hard question to answer. Off the field memory. Well, maybe they're just beginning. Yesterday, I played golf with one of our former players who just graduated, named Tommy Reifler, and Tom is gone. He's going into the working world after Labor Day. And he called me and said, "Can we get out and play together? I'm in town to visit my girlfriend." I said, "Absolutely." So we spent
Yeah.
the day yesterday at the Links Golf Course where I'm a member, and this goes back to what we talked about earlier. See, these are relationships that we have built that I now have and I'm experiencing. But yeah, those are off the field things that will remain with me and that I look forward to hopefully in the future.
All right, Ed, I love it. You got one more question for me. What is it?
Um, One more question for Dan. How how long have you been doing this podcast and in this business that you're now in?
So, I've been a broadcaster since a few months after I walked into college, and appreciate, respect it. And so, 21 is my favorite number, and this year will be 21 years
Hmm.
of broadcasting.
I would have never thought that. You appear to be way too young to have done it in 21 years.
Well,
That's
thank
pretty
you,
good.
Ed. I mean, yeah, I started at 18, and I fell in love with it. I've always been a storyteller, and I've been writing stories. Started on my dad's word processor when I was 5. For people that don't know what that is, it's a glorified typewriter that has a tiny screen where you could actually see what you were typing, and I actually have that typewriter in my office to remind me how I started my career, and to humble me to that. I you know 21 years of doing this, Ed, and I feel like I just got started. I love
You
telling
have.
stories. I love going to camp. I'm invigorated. I fight for everything I have. It's not always fair for somebody that builds their own company, but I believe in it. I love it. I don't like taking paths that are paved. I like taking paths that I have to build. And I think the people that join me on that path are going to enjoy it. I think they're those that have taken a chance on me, I would like to hope have been able to join me for a lot of laughs, a lot of happy tears, a lot of wonder, and a lot of growth. And God is at the center of everything. Everyone asks me how I built the company, and I say God and I sat in the trenches, and we took air in front of us, and we molded it into something tangible. I really honestly think this has been a passion project with God the whole time. It will continue to be. I will keep God first, and He's given me a lot of reasons to be thankful, a lot of reasons to cry happy tears. I laugh every day. And I woke up this morning excited to do the show. I woke up this morning excited to go to football camp. I woke up this morning excited to see what I can do to build the next thing and edit the next thing. And yeah, I'm almost 21 years in, Ed, and I think you can
Unbelievable.
attest to this in your career. I am so madly in love with it, and I'm gonna change the game. That's what God put me here for. So that's what I'm here for.
I have to tell you that I didn't know what to expect today. This is a first for me to be on. I've been interviewed several times, been on television, of course, never been a part of a podcast. And, I had some trepidation. I didn't know what I was going to be getting into. I have to tell you that you have made me very, very comfortable uh, the entire morning here. And I thank you for that. And I hope that I have made a new friend today.
So without question, Ed. I mean, I was gonna say this off the air, but I was like, I gotta reach out to John and be like, hey, please make sure you give me Ed's number because I gotta sit with this guy and spend more time with him. Very kind words that you just said, and I thank you for that. I am honored that you wanted to do this. I tell people all the time, they're like, well, you interviewed this person, you did this, you told this, and I said, yeah, but none of that happens without people saying yes. So, I thank you for entrusting me with the opportunity to do it and giving me the chance. And you know, I I'm the same person on and off the air, and the thing that I could say to you from just maybe 2-3 minutes in is the fact that like I really like this. Like I really enjoy it, Ed. I mean, I don't know the people that have known you throughout the years necessarily, but in knowing you for an hour, whatever good things they say, I would be here to echo them because the vibe that I get off of our conversation and off of the person that you are, I honestly feel like I'm sitting on a couch with you, and which this was the whole plan of what I wanted to do in the beginning. But like this is fun for me. This went beyond an interview. This went beyond me thinking like people are watching and listening. I'm just talking with someone that I'm very I feel very honored to talk with you, and I feel very privileged to have this moment. And I would love to say, here I am, I'm going to ask you another question in rapid fire, but I'd rather take my question out and just make a statement. You made one heck of an impression on me today, Ed, and you absolutely have a friend in me because I'm thinking in my head, like, I want to plan the next time I get to speak with Ed Folli, because today really just made me feel like I was sitting in the backyard with someone in the community, in the neighborhood, just like sharing stories about life and what we love. And, God bless you, Ed, because we need more people like you out there.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Dan. Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, you deserve those words. I know you're a humble guy, but you deserve them. So, with that being said, Ed Folli, Bearcat Breakroom, a longtime Binghamton baseball assistant coach, following his retirement here on Wake Up Call inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, everything at Union Endicott with the Binghamton Mets. And like Ed said all morning, the best is yet to come. So, Mr. Folli, thank you for your time. Thank you for all the work that you've done. And big time shout out to you. I don't know how to end the conversation because
I don't either.
I had way too much fun. So I send you and your family a lot of love and prayers and support. And I look forward to talking with you soon.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. That coming here from Ed Folli on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. An honor and a privilege, like I said, to speak with somebody like Ed, to speak with Ed Folli this morning. I was excited to do it, but I'm coming off of this thing like feeling, my heart is like, yes, you know what I mean? Like, you ever get that feeling when you're energized, you almost feel like you're out of body, right? Like you feel like your brain's red, like you just feel like you're beyond wherever you're not kind of held down by your body, so to speak. And God, I love my job. You know what I mean? Like, I love what I do. It's not a job. It's not a job. It's just fun. Like, this is fun. And I pray that everybody that is watching and listening, I pray that you have as much fun as Ed has had and will continue to have, and as much fun as I've had and will continue to have. Like, I want you to find something in your life that you just love so dearly, and you protect it and you hold it. And at the same time, you let it fly. And people that are doing what they love, you'll understand that. When you hold on to something so tight, you give it a big hug, but then you let it go spread its wings and fly. And gosh darn it, like, life is good. Life is so good. Don't ever let this world make you think it's not. It's so good. So start living it. Seriously. Like, that conversation with Ed Folli today, I'm moved. I really am. Like, I can't wait for what this is going to bring. It's like we're talking about his retirement, yet I'm thinking this is the beginning of my relationship with Ed. This is the beginning of my friendship. So, I mean, isn't this what it's all about? Don't forget this stuff. We were total strangers this morning. Complete strangers. We've never talked before. And I want us all to think about that positivity and those relationships and the connectiveness that we as human beings are supposed to be. We're not supposed to be disconnected. We're not supposed to be broken. We're supposed to be together. So I want you to think about that today. I don't know the words to like go to break for a second, because I want to just keep saying like, thank you, Ed. This was fun. I can't wait to do it again. Thank you, John Hartrick. Thank you, Binghamton. We'll take a step aside for a fast break inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, and we'll be back with our special with Eric Morris, another conversation for you to enjoy as we sit on the couch of Wake Up Call and tell stories.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, on site, on location in our Heritage Hill Travel Studios at the AAC Kickoff in Arlington, Texas, and down here in Arlington, Texas, not too far away from where you are in Denton, for the North Texas Mean Green and head coach Eric Morris of the football program. Eric, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So bring me into last year's the first year in the American. Now that we have the opportunity at year 2, what were the biggest pieces, the learning lessons, so to speak, of the transition last year?
Yeah, we could talk all day about that, but I got notes for days on things we did well and things we didn't do well. And so I think going into year 2, I think there's just so much now. There's a little bit of familiarity with the league, with the way it's played, both schematically and personnel side of things. And so, I think there were some adjustments we needed to make on both of those. And so spent a lot of time self-scouting this year, and some of it was personnel-wise. I think we had a stretch where we played the best 4 teams in the conference all consecutive weeks last year. And the biggest thing that I took away from it was we were so much smaller as a program than those 4 teams. So size was a big thing, and we needed to add some bulk up front, and then even on the back end, especially on defense for us. And so that was a major emphasis going into recruiting this year, was to be able to get some guys that were a little bit bigger at the safety and corner position, a little more length on the field, a little bit bigger in the trenches. And I think last year, we were so damn close, and we had 8 one-score games last year. And so obviously we weren't tough enough to pull those victories out, enough of them. And so you look back at all the one-score games and the opportunities that we had to win the game, whether it's on the offensive side, defensive side. We got to be tough enough, to find ways to win games as opposed to find ways to lose games. And so I think, it's challenging to practice that, but we spent more time in practicing 2-minute drills and 4-minute drills, and a little bit more physical throughout the course of the spring. It'll be the same thing going into fall camp. And so, but I think the calming part of this is, although we have a bunch of new faces on this roster, is I think we've improved at a lot of positions, and we were so close. We know how close we were last year, so we're not that far off, and we're able to add some things that I think can really push us over the edge this year.
Talk about having a bunch of new faces on this team. We know that the transfer portal has allowed for essentially collegiate free agency. It can be a positive, it can be a negative, right? When you bring in the guys you want, it's great. When you lose some guys that you love having, it's tough. How do you navigate through the portal and still respect the world of the traditional true freshman?
Easier said than done. We're taking big high school classes right now, and so we've taken over 25 the last 2 years, which is the most in Texas. And so we still believe, we think we're getting a better caliber, high school player than what North Texas probably was 5 years ago, because so much of the other schools in Texas are going heavy portal. And so now you have to have time to develop those guys, right? And so I think that you'll see it this year, and then really you'll see it blossom next year. I think we're able to supplement some of those things this year as far as also, we had some attrition on both sides of the ball, so we were able to replace some guys with some guys that have game reps, meaningful game reps. And I think snaps played is such an important piece to evaluating these transfers, more so than where they're coming from. And so we've had great success with Division II players that come that are All-Americans and play thousands of snaps that come in, and they just seem to be a little bit more ready to go out there and compete. And so I don't care where they win. Division II, FCS, you know, Power 5 coming down. So when we're playing, we've gotten transfers that kind of hit all those bases, and we've had success with all of them. We've had, you know, some guys that couldn't play for us after they transferred. So it's definitely, you know, a new artwork of trying to fit these rosters together, you know, and manage it. But it's doable. I think if you take your time, if you're diligent, if you don't just jump into things without knowing why a kid's leaving, I think you can get burned. But I think if you're patient and you do the work and you make the phone calls, I think you can. There's plenty of good football players that come out here and want to compete at a high level.
You talk about a bunch of new faces. When we look at offense, defense, and special teams overall, when we're painting a picture of 2024-25 for this program, who are some of those leaders that you feel like have become an extension of you, either in practice or on the field in a game?
Yeah, the two guys, I'll start with the two guys that are here today. I mean, Rich Tejada on defense is a guy that's returning, you know, he's a 3-year starter at corner for us. I think he's either 2 or 3 pass breakups away from breaking all-time record at North Texas. And then Damon Ward, who's really been a number 2 receiver for the last couple of years, and is primed to have a breakout season. Done a phenomenal job reshaping his body and putting in the work this offseason, and has gotten on the same page as Chandler Morrison. Bringing Chandler Morrison, you know, at the quarterback position, and a kid that was an instant leader on our team. You know, demands respect. I think super mature. He's been through a bunch of different situations that he's a little bit calloused in a good way. You know, he's tough as nails, and so I think bringing somebody like that into the fold has really helped us kind of throughout the course of this summer really move forward at a more of a rapid pace.
So for you, when you look at this, before jumping rapid fire, where you as the coach gets asked me some questions and put me on the hot seat as opposed to you having to answer questions always, looking at the fact that this conference has made such a commitment to the state of Texas. They moved their headquarters from Rhode Island during COVID to Irving, Texas. We're here in Arlington here for the AAC kickoff, and of course there's a bunch of representation, including the Mean Green, for this conference as far as institutions. What does that mean to you to be in a conference called the American, which really is and can be coast to coast, but right here in the center of the country in Texas, they've made a commitment to being in this community, just what that means?
Yeah, I think, you know, the DFW area is obviously booming, and I think it has the resources to support everything they need. I think that, you know, it being a natural hub and having the DFW airport right there is something natural, common to me. And so, yeah, I mean, it's obviously ideal for us because, you know, we come to these events and I get to sleep in my own bed and wake up and drive 30 miles down the road. But yeah, and I think too, you know, having Army and Navy in the conference is such a cool experience for our kids to be able to go experience those games against the academies. For Army to come to our place this year, and for all the DFW, you know, people that have graduated from the Army, you know, such a storied program with so much history. I think when you add those storylines into it, it makes it even that much better.
And for you, looking at the leadership, last season, Mike Oresco, and obviously the commissioner from the beginning before there was a name or a logo, and now Tim Pernetti. What were your takeaways from Mike Oresco and what he's done for this conference, as well as the new leadership with Tim Pernetti?
Yeah, I think Mike did an incredible job for years of really building this brand into a strong brand, and obviously, you know, I think you see the hard work of him in this conference materialize into people jumping ship and going to different conferences because they had so much success, right?
Yeah.
And so it's almost like the transfer portal with the kids, it's the same thing with conferences, and they want to go to a conference with maybe a bigger TV contract or what it might be. And so I think you see with, you know, UCFs and the Cincinnatis, and that's directly because of the success that they were able to have on and off the field. And so Mike, I think, you know, kind of did a phenomenal job establishing that culture, and they weren't going to back down to anybody, and they weren't afraid to play any of these, you know, powers, groups, whatever you want to call people, and they were going to compete at a high level. Now I think it's changed just a little bit, just, you know, as far as now you throw in, you know, the changes with the portal and NIL and revenue share, and I think that throws a whole new dynamic into playing players, and you know, it's kind of the haves and have-nots that people think. And so I think we have some ground to make up. I think that getting somebody that thinks outside the box like Tim right now was something that was just a great move by the American. I think just listening to him the couple times I have so far, I think has a unique perspective, whereas he played college football and it helped shape him, but he has a mind of more of a business savvy mind, in my opinion, and so I think we'll see some really cool and creative things come out of this with his leadership and help kind of move the needle forward.
To jump into rapid fire, you now get to ask me whatever you want, football or life related. So what do you got for me?
All right. Do you have one in the conference this year?
Honestly, it changes. There was a thought of Memphis. There's a thought of UTSA. I think the beauty of this conference and covering it from its institution is that nobody's winning it every year. It just constantly is changing.
Right.
I think that North Texas is a little bit of a sleeper, that you're not going to get the credit that you have from the inside out, from the outside in necessarily to start the season. But I am looking forward to you going beyond what people expect. So I have you circled as that, like, go ahead and count them out type of thing and see what you can do.
I like it. Spider-Man watch. There's going to be a story behind a Spider-Man watch that you're wearing right now.
Yeah, he's been my favorite since I was a kid. My mom used to get me his comics growing up, and I can definitely connect with his character in a lot of ways. I've actually screenwritten what I would do if given the opportunity to be living in that world with Sony Pictures and writing for it. And I was an extra in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that Andrew Garfield was in, so I actually got to be on set, made it on camera in the chase scene with Paul Giamatti. So there's a lot to it, but in the world that I live in the media, I think now more than ever, with great power comes great responsibility. I think the media has a tremendous amount of power, and I don't know how many of us are being responsible with it, and so I find the importance of needing to do that.
Very cool. Have you got that question today yet?
No.
First time?
Yeah, what's your last one for me?
Last question is best sporting event you've ever been to in your life?
Best sporting event I've ever been to in my life? Oh, man. I would probably say this past season, and I know we're in Texas, so my apologies to the Texas Rangers, but I already infiltrated your base. I'm a Diamondback fan.
Okay.
And bringing my dad to the World Series, getting to go to Game 3 and go to Arizona. We had never been to Arizona. I'd never been that far west, and been a fan since they came in 1998. But being able to go there with my dad, I think I watched him watch the game more than I watched the game. Just looking to my left and seeing my dad there, and like my dad being alive and well, thank God. Us being able to celebrate that moment together as father and son. He's always been a baseball fan. I've become a baseball fan. So I think for me, I still have the videos on my phone of us, singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," pictures of us, the rally towels and all that stuff. So I think for me, without question, it's being at the World Series with my dad and the entire game thinking to myself, like, we're here. How'd we get here? And so to me, that's been a true blessing.
Cool story.
So with that being said, Coach, North Texas Mean Green, here, make sure you pay attention with them this season, not only in the state of Texas at home, but on the road. And of course, for Eric Morris and the entire team here with North Texas, and with Mr. Mosley, your athletics director, who I'm a big fan of, who brought me to some of the best food in Arlington. I want to thank you for the work that you've done, and I always appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York.
When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards or Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your one-stop sports card and collecting card shop. Folks, sports cards, it's such a fun thing to collect. I mean, you have your favorite players, you have your favorite, I mean, you think about it. We talk here on the show. I've had the opportunity to collect cards as a kid, thanks to my mom and my grandmas and whatnot. And I collect these cards as a kid, and then I grow up, I become a broadcaster. I go in the locker room, and the guys whose cards I collected might be standing right across from me, and I'm interviewing them. Like that world of bringing it all together, that larger than life world being right there at home with you when it comes to the cards of the people that you love to see, that you love to support, the teams that you love. There's just something special about it. And GG Cards and Breaks, they feed that kid spirit every single day. And it starts with Josh and Anthony, and they have that kid spirit, and they have the cards that they like to collect, and the teams that they love, and the players that they love, and they educate themselves, and they tirelessly are looking for boxes and packs and things for you to have. They send cards to get graded so you can have cards in slabs. They find these amazing inserts. You never know what's going to be in their display cases. So not only do you have to go to GG Cards and Breaks today, you really have to go back a couple days from now, next week, the week after, because you never know what's going to change from day to day. And I just love it. I love going in there. I can never go in there and spend 5 minutes. I'm always in there for a couple hours because I love their service. I love the people. And I love what they have to offer. You know, it's my one-stop sports card shop. I mean, that's for real, for real. And they have trading cards as well with Disney Lorcana, which I collect. There's Yu-Gi-Oh! There's Pokemon, which there's a ton of people that love Pokemon here in the community, which I've learned from GG Cards and Breaks trade nights. A lot of Pokemon fans, and Magic the Gathering. So we'll see you at trade night this Thursday, August 15th, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the store, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse. And of course, we'll see you at GG Cards and Breaks weekly, Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, it is now time to jump in to our final piece of every Tuesday broadcast, and that would be the Ingredients to Success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicolli's. Avicolli's is on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, literally at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, Oswego Road, a.k.a. Route 57, and Wetzel Road, right at that corner, down the road from Liverpool High School, walking distance from Liverpool High School. And at Avicolli's every single month, we have our Liverpool broadcasts on site, on location with the Warriors, with student athletes, coaches, and administration. So come out and see us every single month at Avicolli's. We got a new broadcast that we're going to be letting you know who the next special is going to be about and when it's going to be. So stay close to your social media. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT for the release on that. We love going to Avicolli's. I was just there a couple days ago. Had to grab a slice of that margarita pizza that you're seeing on your screen right now, and implore you to head over there and support local today and every day. So I definitely appreciate you for going over to Avicolli's and supporting them and a local business, a small business that's been in our community for decades and just truly loves the community, ingrains itself in the community. And John Fratto does a terrific job of knowing Liverpool High School. He went to Liverpool. He knows, he takes interest in the kids and the coaches and the history, as well as the right here and now and what's to come. So I got to give a lot of respect to Avicolli's for their love and their passion for the community, the great food that they serve, and the wonderful people that work there. Thank you to all those wonderful faces I get to see all the time. So shout out to Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. It's time to jump into the Ingredients to Success. And of course, the Ingredients to Success comes to you every Tuesday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, exclusively brought to you by Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Now open 7 days a week, as they're now open on Monday. Lunch, dinner, and drinks. Of course, drink responsibly for those of you that are of age. For those of you that are not, don't drink at all. And of course, as weather permits, they have a fantastic outdoor patio, which I showed you on video on our Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. So I definitely hope that you go out there and sit on their patio with their beautiful flowers, and just a really amazing experience sitting out there. And it makes you feel like in, one of those Italian restaurants, right? That's what they are, where you go and you sit outside and you got the beautiful, colorful flowers around you, and you're sitting right there in the community. You can look out and see people drive by and walk by. So head out to Avicolli's today. The ingredients to success topic for today is something that's very meaningful to me, and that is the path that seems alone, right? The path less traveled. The path that a lot of people don't want to take because of fear, because there's not a lot of people on it. I just said in my conversation with Ed Folli in our Bearcat Breakroom with the longtime baseball coach, and somebody that more than anything else, just a really cool person to get to know, good man in society. And we were discussing paths, and we were in rapid fire, and he asked me about, how long have you been broadcasting, podcasting, and whatnot. And, I said, I took the road. I took the road that didn't exist. I took the road that I had to cut down cut through the foliage and the brush and pave my own road. God has never asked me to take a paved road. He didn't ask me to take a paved road in elementary school. He didn't ask me to take a paved road when my grandfathers passed away. He didn't ask me to take a paved road when I was in high school and junior high. Didn't ask me to take a paved road in college. Didn't ask me to. A lot of the things that I've done, it was like, these haven't been done before. It's never been done like this. This is a first time of having a back-to-back station manager. They never let, in Marywood University, they never let someone be station manager 2 years in a row for the TV station. And I was the first. We never had a sports director at Marywood. I was the first. And, you look at Syracuse University, didn't let self-sustaining, self-created companies get credentials before they let my company do it. You had to be pre-existing. They weren't really open to the internet when they gave me a credential, and they made an example out of me. So historically with Syracuse University, I was given a credential as an internet company that I created that wasn't pre-existing, and I was the first, or one of the first. The way that they pitched it to me is like, we don't typically let these people in, but we're going to give you an opportunity to kind of show yourself and show your work. And that was over a decade ago. So, the exclusive multimedia marketing partnerships, Lemoyne's never signed that before. To my knowledge, Binghamton University has never signed a partnership like that. Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse has never signed a partnership like that. So we've gotten to do a lot of things. I ran the CNY Pop Festival. There's not a lot of sports and entertainment combined festivals of athletes with actors and actresses. We brought that all together. That is not something you see across the country of the United States that often, let alone ever in Syracuse. So not that way. And so we've gotten to do a lot of firsts. And the path that seems alone has really been the path of my life. It's in today's world. Sometimes you feel alone in your belief of God, right? You feel alone. I feel alone in the media for sure when it comes to my faith in God. If other people believe in God in the media, I don't hear it that often. And I'm absolutely, kind of sit back here, and it's tough. It's tough to walk into a media room and feel like, you're ostracized. And I felt that way yesterday. We're talking 21 years broadcasting, and I still walk into media rooms where it's a high school cafeteria table and you're not invited to sit with them. And I was talking to my dad about this, and he was like, "Why do you care?" And in the middle of the conversation, I kind of answered my own question. And I was like, I don't. when your mission of trying to do the right thing somehow ostracizes you, I think that that's the devil's way or the secular way or the world or society's way, whatever you want to call it, or it's a challenge, a test from God to see, to test your mettle, to see what you're made of. If you're an honest person and that ostracizes you, are you going to stay honest or are you going to lie? If you believe in God and you don't hide that you believe in God, and people start to push you off to the corner, is that going to ostracize you, or are you going to continue to believe in God? Are you going to continue to believe in God in secret? When people start to kind of push you out of it and go, they believe in God, let's get rid of them. Do you keep believing in God but hide it so that you can hang out with the quote-unquote kids that think they're cool? Or are you going to still proudly believe in God and share that you believe in God? I think that this world provides us with a lot of opportunity to go against what we believe in order to be cool. And I can't take credit for this message that was put up, but I shared it on my Instagram. It came from Marcus A. Stanley, at Marcus A. Stanley on Instagram. And it says, you can't walk with both Jesus and the world. They're going in two different directions. So the road less traveled, right? There's also somebody that put up the post. They call it Highway to Hell and Stairway to Heaven. And that is to show us the expected traffic patterns, alluding to the fact that a highway has many more cars and a staircase has less, right? You can fit less people on a staircase than you can on a highway. I hope it's the opposite. I hope that it's a highway to heaven. I hope more people turn toward God. And, the path less traveled, what I've realized in my life is you really are challenged. It's very easy to be the quiet person, right? To kind of just slide in to, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. They say that that people won't necessarily agree with a bully, but if they stay quiet and stay out of the bully's sight, they'll not speak up when the bully's bullying somebody else because they don't want to be in the bully's path, right? It's kind of like I saw a tornado, and instead of telling the family that the tornado is coming toward their house, I'll just stay behind the tornado because it's not coming toward me, right? I'm going to preserve myself at the expense of maybe watching somebody else die, somebody else hurt, somebody else be in pain because I don't want to be involved. What people forget to realize is tornadoes can turn around. Tornadoes can change direction. I'm not a meteorologist, but I would imagine that sometimes they think a tornado is going to take a certain path and it changes direction. That's happened a lot with tornadoes and hurricanes. They've said it's going to go one place and it decides to go in a different area. And I think what people need to know is bullies, yes, they could be bullying someone and you could be standing behind the bully and the bully thinks that they have your support because you're standing behind them. Really, you're just terrified. Eventually, that bully's going to turn around because if everything in front of them's been bullied, they're going to have to turn around, him or her, and seek another path. I liken it to a cannon. And I said this about someone I dealt with in my life. I was like, wow, this person's seems like they can be kind of mean, kind of harsh, right? Kind of rude. And I was like, well, thank goodness they're not targeting me. And then eventually they turn the cannon toward me because you stand next to them and you watch them fire away and they're shooting out of the cannon at other people. And then you go, and then, like I said, you go, thank God it's not me. And then all of a sudden the cannon turns around and you can't play surprised because you knew that person had a cannon. You knew they liked to fire it. And you're like, well, why is it happening to me? Well, because this person is a fire starter. They're a cannon shooter. I mean, this is what they do. Can we be the people in society where we don't go down the path less traveled, the path that feels alone, and we just kind of assimilate ourselves into whatever's popular at the time? You're seeing a lot of people do that now, right? Because the mainstream media is moving in one direction. And anybody that moves in a different direction of them is being discredited. But who is seeking to discredit the media conglomerate that's working together? And the things that they tell us are important or that matter to them are things that they may have made fun of 5 years ago. And I've challenged people that follow certain things to say, did this matter to you before, this news channel told you that it should matter to you? Because I've known you for a long time, and the impression that I got from you is that you would make fun of these people, and now that the media has told you not to, and that they're glorious and they're wonderful and they're brave, now you're not making fun of these people. So are you not making fun of these people because you think that it's wrong to make fun of them and you've had a crisis of conscience, or are you not making fun of these people because it's now the fad? See, what people fail to realize is a lot of what happens in today's world in social media and in the media, it's fads. It's things that are, they're popular at the time. And if you watch somebody, see, the things that I stood for as a kid, I still stand for. I stand for honesty. I stand for courage. I stand for taking the path less traveled. I stand for being good to others, treating others the way you'd want to be treated, the golden rule. I stand for it shouldn't matter what someone's race is, or ethnicity, or nationality, or gender, or sexuality. You should treat everyone with the kindness and love that Jesus Christ would give to you, does give to you. I have a strong faith. I love making people laugh. I consult my conscience before I say something, and if I'm not with it, then I'm not going to continue doing that. There's things that I love to do that I think I would be good at in life, but I haven't pushed in that direction because I'm still trying to figure out with God where that path is and what he wants me to do. I think I can be successful and make money and tour doing it, but that's not what it kind of makes me sick in my stomach to say that, because that's not what I'm out here before. Everything that I do goes back to God. So if I can't put something back to God that I'm seeking to do, then I really can't do it. If it's about notoriety and it's about the money and it's about the prestige and it's not about God, then to me, it's not something that I'm going to pursue. It actually does make me sick to my stomach to say it's about the money and it's about the prestige, because it's never been about that for me. So, and people would say that's crazy. Like, why would you not want the prestige, right? You're a business owner, you're in the media, you want to have as many people know you as possible. Yeah, I do. The right way. And it's not as many people. I want good people to connect with me. I want people that want to help the world to connect with me, for sure. But I also want to connect with the people that aren't doing good things, that maybe are doing bad things, because maybe I can reach them through the power of God. So, there's really nobody I would turn away. I said earlier this week, I've been called names within the past few days. I was called a religious extremist because I believe in God. I do not view myself as an extremist. I dated an extremist, and she was not comfortable to be around. I do not hold the values of extremism. I do not support them. She ostracized me. She put me down. She made me feel like less of a human being. Or I should say, I allowed her to make me feel like that, because nobody can make you feel a way that you don't want to feel. So I've dated extremists. Not because they're extremists. I've dated people that hold the same faith that I hold, I thought, and their views are very excluding, judgmental, hateful at times. Not even, I don't want to say hateful, but very much point a finger at you in a town square type of feel to it. And that is not an extreme. I do not hold those views. I have been challenged on my nationality. On my background. I was told that being a Spaniard and being Spanish is not Hispanic. I was told that by many people. It's not true. I spoke to my family in Spain that lives in Spain and was born in Spain, and they said quite clearly, we are Hispanic, Daniel. Yes, you are right. So the fact that I've had to defend my heritage to people in my family is weird. It's not fun. But the path less traveled sometimes means that you're going to go up against your own blood. You're going to go up against your parents. You're going to go up against your kids. You're going to go up against your aunts and uncles, your grandparents. You're going to go up against your cousins. You're going to go up against your friends, the cool kids in school, the establishment. I mean, sometimes doing the right thing, a lot of times doing the right thing doesn't mean that it's easy. It's usually not easy, which I think is God's true way of seeing if you're really doing the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. If it was popular to do the right thing, everybody would do it. But would you be doing it because it's right, or would you be doing it because it's popular? I think a lot of times God puts the right thing on the other side of popular, because it weeds out the people that are doing it because it's right, and as opposed to doing it because it's popular. It's not popular to stand up for God sometimes. It's not popular to stand up for somebody who's different than you at times. It's not popular to say something about hate speech. You're right. Sometimes somebody will say something in front of you and you don't like it, but you just keep your mouth shut. Right? I don't want the bully to target me. Do you know what it's like to look somebody in the eye and tell them, I'm not really fond of the way you talk to people? I hurt when I did that. I was so upset for such a long time that somebody spoke to me in a certain type of way. And one day I just looked at the person and I said, you know, if you want to know why I don't speak to you, it's because I don't really like you. I don't really like the way you talk to people. And I went up to him after that and I gave him a hug and I apologized to him, because as much as I truly don't talk to him because I don't like the way he speaks to people and I don't like the way he talks to me, saying that to him out loud didn't give me any type of peace. It made me feel like I was the bully to the bully in that moment. And that was wrong. You know, when you stick up for what you believe in, like I won't stick around. If somebody says the N-word around me, I say something. I'm not an African American. I have friends that I consider family, that I consider brothers. But even if I didn't have people in my life that I love dearly that are African American, I would still feel wrong sitting there. I can pinpoint the moments where somebody said the N-word in front of me in the last 10, 12 years, and never did I feel comfortable, and everything inside of me was like, should you say something? Do you want to say something? And eventually I would open my mouth and go, you know what? I don't like this. I mean, there was one girl that I was looking to date within the past 3 years, and she said the N-word in front of me 3 times. She thought it was funny. She thought it was fine. She thought it wasn't a big deal. And there were other reasons why I didn't want to date her. But if everything about her was perfect, if she was, you know, just everything that I ever wanted in a woman, but she was going to say that word in front of me, I wouldn't have dated her. I realized in that moment that I had already kind of been turned off by her. But once she said that word in front of me and she said it confidently without an issue, and when I say she said it confidently, she didn't seem like she was going to stop doing it. I just said to myself, I'm not dating this woman. I'm not, because I'm just not. I don't want to date somebody that thinks that way. And it is the road less traveled, you know? I mean, I want to have a family. I want to have kids. I want to have a wife that genuinely loves me. I know what it's like to think that I have something that I didn't really have. But I'm not willing to give things up for that. I am not willing to be one of the cool kids by giving up God, by being mean to people. I'm not willing to be by lying and cheating and stealing. I'm not willing to be in a relationship where somebody does and says things I wouldn't do. And the funny thing is, in the last few days, when I've been called names or I've been told that my heritage is not my heritage and that I've been saying it wrong, I've stuck up for myself, and the people didn't care. They didn't care. You know, and I thought about yesterday, I'm like, when I brought this up yesterday, I'm like, should I feel bad that I'm bringing this up? Because if the person that had this conversation with me heard it, would they have been hurt by it? But then I'm like, why do I feel bad that they hurt me? Why do I feel bad? I'm not saying their name. I'm not saying who they are. I'm not saying our relationship. They're like, I've given you no information other than the fact that I had a conversation that I didn't enjoy. And that's why when people listen and they go, oh, that was me, I'm like, well, you're so vain, you probably think this song is about you. Because, you know what I mean? I mean, how do you know that I didn't have this conversation with somebody else? And, you know, but to me, I find it funny because I think some people are like, well, you only accept people that agree with you. And I find that hilarious because that's not true. You know, I know that there are people that are different than me. I know there are people that think differently and speak differently than me. I know there are people that don't believe in God, or they have a different religion, or people that do things in the media that they consider journalism and they try to school me on journalism, and I don't think anything about what they're telling me to do is journalistic. I don't believe in it. So I don't know if journalistic is a word. It should be. I think it's fun to say. But I was thinking yesterday, I'm like, man, you know, should I feel bad? Should I feel guilty? And I was like, why should I feel guilty going on my show saying I had a conversation where somebody called me a name and somebody tried to pigeonhole me and typecast me, and I didn't like it? Why should I feel bad that they made, you know what I mean? Like, why should I feel bad talking about something that made me feel bad? I was bullied and I need to feel bad about the bullying, and I can't mention it on my show because if the bully hears it, they're going to be hurt. I'm not seeking to hurt them. I'm seeking to share something that, like, is near and dear to my heart. My family is from Italy and Spain. We may have family that's also from the Sudan. I've mentioned it on the show before, and apparently I have to look into it because my family has said we are, and then they've denied we are, and then they've said we are again. Most recently, they said we are. So I'm going to have to look into it. I mean, we have 2 family members that have corroborated that we have family from the Sudan. So, you know, that could be a part of culture. I know that I'm Italian. And I know that I'm Hispanic. My family is from Spain. And I had to go back to my family from Spain and reach out to them to ask them if being from Spain means you're Hispanic, or if Hispanic people are only from Central America and South America. I read the definition. I read it repeatedly. And I had to defend myself yesterday. And I'm kind of like annoyed by the fact that I have to, that like, when I call up that person and say, okay, well, you didn't believe me when I told you repeatedly that we're Hispanic, but now that someone from Spain is saying it to you, like, can you finally, you know what I mean? It's almost like now that I'm right in their eyes because my family from Spain has corroborated it, I'm still annoyed that you didn't believe me. Like, why didn't you just believe me? Why do you think I would lie about that? And when I look up the definition of it, and you start picking the words apart, the definition goes back to Spain. The origin, and it's like, yeah, but that's the origin. That's relating to. It's not the same. And I'm like, how is it not the same? How is relating to Spain not? You know what I mean? When it says Hispanic is of or relating to Spain, the origin of Spain. Well, that's the origin. Right. You know? If you're a mutant in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you could be in the Brotherhood, you could be in the X-Men, or you can be an outlier. But you're all mutants. You all originate from the mutant gene. So you may not be from the same place. You may not believe the same thing. You may not act the same way, but you all have the same origin. So if Hispanic means originating from Spain, then to me, case is closed. But I had to have someone from my family that's living in Spain corroborate it. And I'm annoyed that when I have that conversation today, that person's going to go, okay, well, now that they've said it, I believe it. And it hurts my heart that they didn't believe me. Why do you think, like, why am I not valued enough to believe me? You know what I mean? So it's like most people would run and say, I did have the right answer, haha, in your face, where I'm kind of like, I had the right answer and I feel really disrespected by you that you didn't believe me and that I had to go find somebody else. Like, I can't be a source of information. Why? You know what I mean? So it's just kind of stupid to me, but I'm fighting for my culture. Why am I fighting for my culture? It's my culture, right? People look at me and Dan, you're a white boy. You're a white boy. And I'm like, I'm Italian and Hispanic, respect my culture. And people just, and people say things about Italians and Spanish people, and it's racist. And people just shrug their shoulders and they're like, what are you going to do about it? It's not a big deal. And people are like, well, if I call you the derogatory word for a Spanish person, it's not as bad as the N-word. And I'm like, who are you to say? Well, I mean, I don't think anybody wants to be called anything of a derogatory name. But, this path less traveled, this like, I'm going to go out and be proud of my culture. I'm going to talk about it. Everyone's going to know what my culture is. I'm going to talk about God. People are going to know that I believe in God. I'm not going to leave anybody any doubts of what my culture is, what I care about, what my ideals are, what my morals and values are, the fact that I believe in God. I'm not going to hide that. And you get ostracized. You get called names. You get questioned. You get told you're not allowed to say this. You're not allowed to do this. Like, what human being feels like they have the right to tell somebody what they're allowed to do? And the irony of it all is that the people that are telling you to shut up and sit in a box that they put you in are people that won't go in a box if you put them there. They will never shut up if you tell them to shut up. Like, 99.9% of the time you have a conversation with somebody who is pushing you into something and putting you in a box and being derogatory and calling you names and typecasting you and telling you who you are, they would never stand for you doing any of those things to them. And I will sit down and have a conversation with someone, an open conversation with someone, going into it knowing this person's probably going to fight me on a lot of stuff because we don't agree we don't think the same. And I walk out of that conversation thinking like, okay, that was a nice conversation. I learned some things. I may not agree with stuff, but I appreciate you talking to me. And they walk out of it going, no, I believe what I believe. I'm right. You're wrong. You're stupid. And I'm like, you're the problem. You're the problem. You tell me that something that I believe that was said out there is not true. But then you say something that's got no proof. And when I refute your no proof, you say, no, I'm right. But when you refute mine, you go, no, there's no proof. And we're living in a society right now where hypocrisy is really a deadly sin. It's really a deadly sin. Hypocrisy has become such a normalcy in American society where someone will talk with you about gibberish and you'll tell them that doesn't make any sense. And then they'll tell you something that you said is gibberish. And they'll fight you tooth and nail. I mean, I used to sit down and have conversations with someone I considered a friend at the time, and everything I said about a candidate he didn't like, he would just go, no. I looked this up. But then when I talked to him about the candidate that he was voting for, he was like, no, you're wrong. Give me the proof. Come to the conversation with facts. Do your research. Print it out. Show it to me. And it's so exhausting. Right? But the path less traveled, folks, like, if you want to follow God, I can promise you it's going to be the path less traveled. I can promise you that. Because God isn't about mansions, and I'm not saying you can't have a big house. I'm saying God is not about the flashy, right? And society might really like something, and God might be different than that. You know what I mean? Going and sitting. Think about it. How many people, if I gave you a choice right now, and I said, you can go sit with Jesus in a field and talk, just you and him, or you can go to a Taylor Swift concert. How many people would sit with Jesus? I'm not saying Taylor is anti-Jesus. I'm just saying, if you had a choice, how many people would sit with Jesus or go to the concert? If I told you that Dr. Dre was going to come hang out in Syracuse right now, and you can hang out with Dr. Dre, or you could sit with Jesus. How many people go hang out with Dre? If I told you that you could go to the Super Bowl or sit with Jesus, how many people would sit with Jesus? If I told you you could have $1 million or sit with Jesus, how many people would turn down the $1 million and sit with Jesus? Life is a constant, and I'm not saying don't make money, and I'm not saying don't make connections, and I'm not saying go to concerts. See, in today's world, I feel like I have to after, which I'm not going to sit here and do because my whole show would be I'd say a sentence, defend the sentence, say a sentence, I'd say 5 sentences, the show would be over. The question becomes, how many of us are willing to do the path less traveled? How many of us are willing to take it? I've been defending the fact that if your family is from Spain, you're Hispanic. It's any Spanish-speaking culture. It's not just Latin America. It's not just Central America. It's not just South America. By the way, why are they speaking Spanish? Because Spain went over there. So Hispanic is the entire culture. Yes, people from Spain are Spaniards. People from Latin America are Latinos. People from Peru are Peruvians. People from Guatemala are Guatemalans. But people from Puerto Rico are Puerto Ricans or Boricuas. You have people from the Dominican Republic are Dominicans. But they're all Hispanic. And I had to fight for that within my own family, which is ridiculous. And I had to go get someone to defend me from Spain. And to me, that's such a waste of time. Why are you fighting with, why does it hurt you if I say I'm Hispanic? How does that affect you in a negative way? If I believe that I'm Hispanic, my family from Spain and I'm Hispanic, why does that offend you? What does that do to hurt you? What does that do to change your life in a negative way? If I am positive and welcoming and excited about my culture, how does that make your life hard, difficult, sad, horrible? You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm Indian. I'm not Indian. I'm not saying I'm German. I'm not German. I'm not Irish. I'm proud of my culture. And I've embraced it. And the funny thing is, some of the people in my family that were challenging me and questioning me never embraced it. They still don't embrace it. They hide it. I'm not going to hide my heritage. I'm not going to hide who I am. If I was Irish and German, I'd be proud to be Irish and German, and I wouldn't hide it. I am very proud to be born in America. I'm very proud to be Italian. I'm very proud to be Hispanic. And if we can ever figure out the Sudan with people saying we are, we're not, we are, we're not, if we are, then I'm proud of that too. And I don't owe anybody an explanation. Why do I have to tell you who I am and why I am and what I am? You know what I mean? And the funny thing is, some of these people change who they are. They put out different t-shirts every day. Right? I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. But you can only be one thing. You can only be what I tell you you are. So the path less traveled, folks, newsflash, it's difficult. What are the ingredients to success? Keep God first. Listen to God. When you pray, don't just say stuff. Have a part of your prayer every day where you sit in silence and listen to God's direction. Let God guide you. Let God guard you. Be confident. Be courageous. You don't have to be fearless. You have to be willing to face the fear. The path less traveled is going to be scary. It's going to feel alone. It's going to feel cold and rainy and dark. And you got to keep going. My ingredients to success for the path less traveled: surround yourself with people that'll take the path with you. Surround yourself with people that aren't afraid to do the right thing. If you're around people that are constantly going, you're doing the right thing, little stupid you are. You don't have any fans, you don't have any followers. If you're around people that are constantly going, do it our way, do it our way, do it our way. Why are you doing this? Come on, man. Be cool, be popular. Stop following God. Stop talking about God. If you believe in God, do it secretly. Don't talk about your morals and your values. Don't stand up for the kid being bullied. Be cool, be cool, be cool. Come on, be cool. Do whatever it takes to get followers and likes. Hang out with these people. Only talk to this person when you're alone, but when you're in a group of people, ignore that person because we don't like that person. Talk to them when you're by yourself, but when you're around all of us, they're not in the treehouse. Act like you don't even know these people. Do it. Peer pressure, get that out of your life. Good people are not going to peer pressure you, by the way. Good, wholesome, moral, and value people are not going to peer pressure you. They're not. My best friends, they don't peer pressure me. I've never felt one day in the 6 years that I've been around Isaac, 6 or 7 years, I've never had him tell me to do something or say something or else. But I have had other friends say that, and I don't consider them close friends. I consider them acquaintances. I consider them people I know. I may love them, but that person who at 5 years old peer pressured me and tried to peer pressure me into doing something is the same person that lived with peer pressure and doing what they thought was cool as they got older. It didn't leave them. So there is a truth to like who somebody is unless they decide to change. You're gonna see that path, good or bad, throughout their life. You're going to go, wow, that person at 20, I never thought that they would, well, they did do that at 5 years old, and 15 years later, they were still doing the same type of thing. And I pray for those people. But you cannot, if you're going to go the path less traveled, you cannot succumb to peer pressure. You have to be willing to speak up when you're laughed at. You have to be willing to speak up when people try to talk over you. You have to be willing to speak up when you get crickets. The path less traveled is not easy. It's not. But some people are willing to go on the busy path, whether it's right or wrong, just to be with somebody. People don't want to be alone. There's a lot of people that could be walking down the path that's going straight to hell, and they don't know it. Because they think if this is the path everybody's on, I'm going to go with the crowd. Going with the crowd 100% of the time is not 100% of the time right. Because the crowd doesn't always go in the right direction. Think about how many people supported Hitler. Did they all support him? Or were they afraid of him? Did they all support him? Or did they not want to ruffle feathers? Did they all support him? Or did they want him to just leave them alone? But it was still looking like support. So even if they did it out of fear, could somebody have had their life saved if that house wasn't living in fear? They might not have supported Hitler, but they look like they supported Hitler, and they didn't take that family in, and that family was killed. So can they sit here and say we're just innocent bystanders? Or do they have to take some of that responsibility and say, man, if we had lived past our fear, above our fear, got around our fear, we could have saved a life that day? How many people are willing to do the right thing if it meant death, if it meant being chastised, if it meant being ostracized, if it meant being excommunicated? How many people are willing to do the right thing when the right thing has negative consequences? Do you know how difficult it is? I'm 38 years old, and I had a conversation with my dad yesterday of like, Dad, I'm doing the right thing. Why are people treating me like this? And my dad said, why do you care? If you know you're doing the right thing, why do you care? Why does it matter? I'm like, Dad, I just want to know why. Well, I can't tell you why. You can't tell you why. You can ask them to tell you why, but do you really care with their answer? You know you're an honest person. You know that you're a nice person. You know that you care. You know that people matter to you. And you know that you hold doors open for people that have screamed in your face. So what do you have to apologize for? You know? I think people underestimate what it's like to have somebody berate you, ignore you, disrespect you, publicly treat you like a nothing, and then when that person walks through a door, you hold the door open for them. because everything inside of you does not want to become that person. You want to slam the door in their face. You want to be like, get a taste of your own medicine. And every day you're like, no, I can't. That's not what God would do. That's not how Jesus raised me. That's not how the Holy Spirit commands us to be. My belief in God prevents me from enjoying an eye for an eye. There's been moments where I've fought back, right? There's been moments where I'm like, you know what? You're going to call me a name. I'm going to call you a name. And I immediately feel terrible. And I immediately want to apologize to God. Most, people would look at me and go, they called you a name, call them a name. They swung at you, swing at them. And I'm sitting here going, Jesus would want me to grab their hand in the air, and instead of punching them back, he'd want me to grab their hand and put their hand down and say, stop. Let's not do this. Jesus is not telling me to be punched, but he's not telling me to hit back. Well, Dan, that's weak. No, it's not. If I win a fight, you think that person's going to go the rest of their life not knowing that? They remember who beat their butt. And they might want to beat my butt, or they might want their kid to beat my kid's butt. When you win a fight, did you really win a fight? Think about Congress. If one side wins one bill, then the other side wants to win the next one. It's a tit for tat, bang, back and forth. Let's go, let's go, let's go. How many of us are trying to help others rather than beat them, win? Every time I come out with a breaking news story, I'm not trying to beat everybody else. I'm trying to do something really cool and unique and fun, and I'm proud of myself. And almost every time that I've broken news, I don't get the credit. It's stolen from me from people that I know. It's stolen from people. It's stolen from me from people that I don't know. And I'm questioned about it. Dan, I don't believe that this is your breaking news. I don't believe it's real. And then it ends up being real. Those people don't apologize. So it's like I get questioned when I break it. When it's true, I don't get credit for it. And those same people that stole the story from me, they don't even say hello to me when we're in a room together. They just go about their business. The road less traveled is not easy, folks. And it sucks. And sometimes you want to hit back. Sometimes you want to look somebody in the eye and go, yo, I know what you're doing. Y'all are dirty as hell. Y'all's stomach should hurt when I walk in the room because y'all should feel bad. Y'all should have a conscience. My stomach be twisting like crazy if I took something from somebody. If I treated somebody as a subhuman, I'd feel terrible. Y'all don't care, or y'all don't look like you care. But you know what? It's not about that. It's about you, and it's about God, and it's about getting home someday. It's about loving your life. It's about making a difference. If I focus on the people that are hating on me and the people that are disrespecting and stealing from me, then I'm not focusing on the people I'm talking to. I have the blessing to talk with actors and actresses and writers and illustrators and athletes professionally and in high school and in college and in little kid, peewee and whatnot. And I have the opportunity to talk with coaches and administrators and commissioners and leaders and presidents, and that's meaningful to me. I believe that I could sit down with Donald Trump and have an open conversation. I believe I could sit down with Kim Jong-un and have an open conversation. I believe I could sit down with Vladimir Putin and have an open conversation. I believe that I could sit down with anybody and have an open conversation because of the way that I am, because who I am shines through. My belief in God, my morals, and my values are there. What did Ed Folli say today on the show? I didn't know what to expect. I've never done a podcast before, and you made me feel comfortable. And I've heard that from a lot of people. I hate doing interviews, but I'll talk to you. And I'm not saying this as an ego. I'm saying when you are who you say you are and you believe in what you believe and you're willing to take the path less traveled, if it means the path of humility and love and justice and kindness and morals and values and goodness and being open and listening, you're going to get back a millionfold, and you can focus on the people that are laughing and pointing fingers at you, but that's going to take away. If you only have 6 minutes to interview a player and you're focusing on the people that are laughing and talking behind your back, you're not listening to what that player's saying. You're not engaged, and it might be the only time you get to talk to them. You can focus on the peanut gallery, or you can treat a peanut like it is, small, tiny, and whatever. Just go live your life, man. The road less traveled is hard. But if I didn't take it, none of this would have happened in my life. If I told God, nah, I'm trying to chill with the cool kids, I would not have been blessed the way that God blessed me. Because God is not going to sit here and bless me for doing bad things. God is not going to bless me for, sticking up my nose to him and walking in the other direction. He's not going to bless me. God blesses you when you go in his direction. And when you don't, you get punished. God needs you to know that's not right. When I told God I'm going to do what I want to do, how I want to do it, God went, okay. And you know what? I went through hell. I went through hell when I did that. When I said to God, I'm not going to take your advice and I'm going to do what I want to do because the things that I want don't align with you, God said, okay. You are going to go through turmoil. Now, do you go through turmoil when you do the right thing? Yeah, but it feels different. When I go through turmoil doing the right thing, I'm upset, I'm annoyed, but I keep going. When I go through turmoil doing the wrong thing, I want to lay in bed all day. I don't want to keep going. So take the road less traveled, folks. Go after the things that you want in life. Believe in God. Believe in yourself. Stick up for yourself. Love yourself. Love others. Love them when they hate you. Love them when they steal from you. Love them when they point at you. Love them when they laugh at you. Put your life in perspective and know that just do you, baby. I can promise you, I have been laughed at, made fun of, ostracized, and kicked out of the treehouse my entire life. And I get more successful every single freaking moment. Me focusing on the peanut gallery is a waste of time because the peanut gallery didn't stop me in elementary school, kindergarten, pre-K, didn't stop me in high school, junior high, and it doesn't stop me now. I've been made fun of my whole life. I've been called names, ridiculed, and told who I am my whole life. I've been questioned. I've been put down. I've been the black sheep my whole life. And I've also been outrageously loved by God. And I will take his love to the bank every single day, more than anything else. So keep being you, keep doing you, keep loving you, and keep on keeping on. Ingredients to Success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's. Head there on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool 7 days a week. They're now open on Mondays, lunch, dinner, and drinks. Casual dining, fine dining, bar, and when weather permits, like right now, a beautiful outdoor dining area with plenty of beautiful flowers surrounding you. Make sure you head out and support local today. Avicolli's is a wonderful place, and it's busy. You drive by, it's busy all the time, and that's because of the people. Thanks to John, thanks to Avicolli family, thank you to everybody that's working there and all of the wonderful people that have smiled and said hello to me when I come through the door. You're noticed, I appreciate you, and God bless you as always. These are the ingredients to success every Tuesday on Wake Up Call. With that being said, here on the show, I want to thank you for being with us all around the world on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and beyond. It's 12:25 right now. So I love what I do. So that's why I'm here. You can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Podchaser.com, as well as Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Big time thanks to all of our Central and Upstate New York partners: Heritage Hill Brewhouse, Heritage Hill North, Carvel, DeWitt, as well as the Wildcat Sports Pub, Avicolli's Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Brian's Landing, GG Cards and Breaks, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, Great Lakes Honda City, Pizza Man, Servomation Refreshments, reimagining and revitalizing the vending world, Mother's Cupboard, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Make sure that you are with us every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for Dolphin Time. Student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni joining us here in an unprecedented partnership for Lemoyne College, as we're in year 4 of that unprecedented partnership, our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Lemoyne College, telling their stories and loving every single moment of it. You can find all of it by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell. And you'll also find our Lemoyne playlist on our YouTube channel. And of course, you could find them on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com. And as always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in the Bobcat Buzz. With student athletes, coaches, and administration, you will find your Bobcats with men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and esports throughout the year. I love all of our conversations and have the utmost respect and appreciation for Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, a unique way to be connected to athletics, as well as a unique place to get an education. I absolutely love that they're here in our community, and they have 2 locations. You could find them by going to James Street, right up the road, right up the hill from Syracuse, downtown Syracuse, so James Street in Syracuse, and right across the street from Avicolli's off of Route 57 in Liverpool. For all of the content, go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the BSC Syracuse playlist. You'll also find the Bobcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find the Bearcats every Tuesday like you did today during Bearcat time at 10 a.m. Eastern Time worldwide. The Bearcats coming to you with Moments with Marshall featuring Binghamton University Athletics Director Gene Marshall, as well as coming to you in the Bearcat Breakroom like today with student athletes, coaches, administration, and those connected to the program forever like Ed Folli and the baseball program and beyond. All of this is with you on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you can also find our Binghamton playlist on our YouTube channel. You'll find the Bearcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to bubearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, I also want to give a shout out to Brooklyn Pickle in North Carolina, right by Pinehurst. Some people consider Pinehurst golf courses to be the greatest golf courses in all of America, or at least right there in the top of American golf courses. And right by Pinehurst, just a few miles away, you will find on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, Brooklyn Pickle. Brooklyn Pickle going from New York to North Carolina, and people need to know about it. They don't have sandwich shops like the Brooklyn Pickle down in North Carolina. They don't know what it's about. They don't know what it is. It is my job to tell you that it is fantastic. It is amazing, and you need to go there today. So trust, folks, that I don't talk about things that I don't support myself. Head to the Brooklyn Pickle, my North Carolinians, on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, right by Pinehurst Golf Courses. Head to the Brooklyn Pickle today. Have a wonderful day. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. For Tim Pernetti, the American Athletic Conference Commissioner. For Eric Morris, the head coach of the North Texas Mean Green football program in his second season there. For Ed Folli, the longtime baseball lover and coach who has just retired from Binghamton University after almost 2 decades there. And of course, to Avicolli's for the ingredients to success. I thank you all. I thank Tim, Eric, and Ed. I thank the team at Avicolli's. I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Stay close to our social media. Plenty of great stuff coming up, and I want you to be first.